Ladies and gentlemen, esports fans, welcome to the CollegiateR6 Premier Grand Finals. The story has been laid. 256 teams attempted to find themselves in the Grand Finals, but unfortunately to them, only 2 teams can make it. We've decided to make this the best Grand Final ever, so welcome to the new format. That means we have an analyst desk, and beautiful faces are joining me. Stock, Jay-Z, my friends, welcome.
I mean, Chief, it is so great to be here. These two teams, a long and storied history. Yeah, we're in a different setting. We're on the analyst desk today, but I could not be more excited to see this one through.
Absolutely. I think we have quite the match in store today. I think we have two of the biggest names in Collegiate Siege, one of them being a repeat champion and making a name for themselves, stomping everyone down in their path. It is the one to beat, Akron, and now we have Purdue taking them on in this grand finals. I think we're in for a heck of a match today.
Oh, we are for 110%. You talk about a repeat champion. They're not a 1 time, a 2 times, a 5 times, a 10 time. They are an 11 time grand champion, the Akron Zips. It's impossible to process that. Are they going to be a 12 time? We're talking about the storybook run, but let's take a step back and break down this bracket, Stock.
Absolutely. So I want to start off with Purdue, the obvious underdogs in this against these repeat winners here. Akron absolutely tearing up the field. Purdue, their first match up against Michigan Tech's gold team, taking the win over them, moving on up against Oklahoma State for the semifinals, coming out with a 2-1 victory to put them into this grand finals match. Heck of a game. And then we have on the side of Akron, their storyline starts off with going through NC State in the quarterfinals, moving up and beating out Kettering University in a 2-1 match in the semis, moving themselves into this spot to take home season number 12.
Everybody wants to talk about the 2 teams in the grand finals. Now, Jonah, does anybody stand out to you in postseason that needs a little bit of love today?
I mean, Akron always get all the love in the world, so I'm going to throw it to Purdue this time around. I think they've got quite a good chance here. They've shown a lot of improvements week after week. They're a team that, yes, they've always been in the upper echelon of collegiate, but have they been that number 2 team forever? No, they haven't. As long as Purdue have been up there, there have been excellent teams surrounding them. GCU, NC State, and of course Akron all competing for these top few spots. And I think Purdue have really stepped it up in these last few weeks. And of course, the circumstances of today may be a little bit different and not what they'd like. They are playing with a sub, but I do think that this team is excellent. They've played extremely well in the postseason all throughout the regular season. Their victory over Oklahoma State was another one to just be extremely proud of, and they move forward, hopefully with a good bit of momentum to make this match interesting.
The Boilermakers, they love to produce as much steam as possible, but are the Zips going to derail them today's Stock? Let's first talk about the Boilermakers themselves, Purdue. Who's on this roster?
Well, for your Purdue roster, I think the player specifically to be the most on the lookout for is the one with the highest play rating on the team of 1.42. That is Goose Smitty. I think he is going to be the biggest name on the Purdue roster to take a look for. He has been tearing up the scene, boasting a lofty
What you get when you combine an old man, a short man, a clutch god, the best support player in collegiate, and of course, IMAC. When you combine these 5 elements, you get this undefeatable roster. Yeah, they've lost a couple of games, and I mean just a couple of games throughout these last few years, and this is a team to be reckoned with. You've got Surma, who is on his final game in collegiate ever. Massive love to him. Huge shout out. He's had quite a career. All of those 11 victories he has been a part of. And of course, you've got quite a lineup to support these core players. I mean, this is a guy we've talked so much about, but we do not talk enough about JetCon. Just like he is a fragger. He is a roamer. He is a Jaeger main who is darting all over the map, hiding in corners, and frying down attacking teams. He is a man to watch out for. Got to give it up to Hennessy as well. Such good clutch potential. Arv, support player, and as we've seen in the last few weeks, top fragger even. He's been defying expectations. I cannot wait to see what all 5 of these players put down.
Now, before we hop into the actual maps that we're playing today, Jonah, you've been following the storylines of these teams. What maps do you think we're going to see today? And more importantly, what maps aren't we going to see? Because Consulate is sometimes in the mix, sometimes Coastline. Looking at you, Akron Zips, because they're phenomenal on these maps. So are we going to see players ban their best maps, or are we going to see them remove their best maps?
Well, the way we work here in CR6 in our best of 5 format, you get a pick right off the bat. It goes pick, pick, ban, ban, pick, pick, decider. So right off the bat, these teams do not have a chance to remove their opponent's stronghold of a map. And that's exactly why, at least I think, we should be seeing Akron's strongest map, Coastline, and Purdue's strongest map, Consulate. Purdue, that is their home territory. They love Consulate. Akron, they don't love it. They ban it every single week if they get the chance. Almost guaranteed we're going to go see those 2 maps. In terms of the bans, I think Akron are going to probably ban out Theme Park. That is still in the pool. They haven't been scrimming it recently. And as Kettering showed Akron in the semifinals, Akron have some stuff to work on Theme Park. So I would not be surprised if they take that map off the board. But for the side of Purdue, a couple of options they have, and I'm not sure which one they'll go with.
Well, Jonah, you have quite a theory there. We're going to have to test that, because the only way of testing a theory is putting it into effect. Over to our map bans we go, Stock. Is Jonah right? Is he wrong? You tell me.
Yeah, as we see our map bans come out, sure enough, we are going to see Akron picking Coastline right out of the gate. Surprise, surprise. Here we go. Their top map is on the board, and Purdue responds in kind, picking up Consulate. First one coming out of the bans on the side of Akron is going to be Theme Park. We saw in the match against Kettering, that was the one map that they lost against that team. And Purdue is going to ban out Clubhouse, oftentimes the brainchild of many Premier League teams. Akron will then respond with a pick on Villa. Purdue will pick up Oregon, and the decider is left on the ever so large Cafe Dostoevsky.
Well, Jonah, you seem to have rigged the system. You know it all. But are you going to double down on that information? Are you so confident with your map bans that you're always going to be able to predict who is going to be our grand final winner? Who do you have going for the grand finals?
Normally, I'd love to throw a prediction towards Purdue here. I love the underdog battle, and I love what they've been showing week after week. Unfortunately, they're playing with a sub. It's final season for them, and I don't know how much prep work they've been able to do on Akron. But the focal point of this matchup for me, it's not going to be Coastline. It is going to be Consulate. If Purdue lose Consulate, unfortunately, the series is over for them. They don't have a chance. But if they can win out Consulate, if they can go 1-for-1 on these early maps, regardless of how Coastline goes, they not only have a chance here, but I think they have a good chance. If they can take that momentum back, you can roll into that third map, and you can roll in there with confidence. I think that's all Purdue need to take it. But if we don't, I mean, obviously coming out of the gate, I'm going to go with my Akron pick, but Purdue, all eyes on Consulate.
That's a very safe bet to go with. Now, Stock, are you going to agree with Jonah, or are you going to take the high road and go with a different roster?
I agree that the underdog story is my personal favorite, and we have very, very talented teams, but I'm going to throw it Purdue's way. I would love to see an underdog story. I'd love to see them pull it out. Again, the sub will be a factor. If either team shows up with everyone willing to play less than 110%, it is just not going to go well for that team that leaves that space.
It's going to be 120% effort from both these rosters. I can promise you exactly that. I know you think we're all beautiful, but we have some other cuties that we want to introduce you to. Scott, fellow, take us away.
Well, it is always a pleasure to listen to Jonah, Stock, and Chief take it away inside our booth, but we're going to be going quickly into the game. My name is Infernosis, joined here by my good friend Fellow. We're really excited to bring such a battle of the giants, as we've already talked about. The 11-time winning Akron versus Purdue, who did so well in the Winter Invitational that I'm also going to have to put my hat into the rink for Purdue. Fellow, what's your take on that?
Man, now I kind of have to disagree with you, to be honest. And that might not just be because I want to spite you. It's also because I just simply do not know much about Purdue, to be frank with you. I know a fair amount about Akron because I've commentated over some of their players in the past. But with this being my debut, technically, of CR6, I can't say much about Purdue. So maybe we'll have to get a couple maps in first and foremost. I know that we saw a lot of conversation involving Coastline, which is the first map that we're going to, which favors Akron statistically. But the exact same thing can be said about Consulate, which is map number 2. So who knows, Scott? Maybe this will be just a glorified best of 3, but even then, I might have to lean my favors more towards Akron.
Well, we'll have to see. The Zips getting this one off just as quick as they started, but the bans to come through. First going to start off, Akron gets their choice of attacking ban. It's going to be Zero taken out for the count. An interesting decision, removing information, removing the ability to watch flanks as well, and a bit passively, so to say, and then now Purdue have their own opportunity to go for their attacking ban. Thatcher, not really a go-to ban for a map like this. You don't see that because Hard Breach isn't as prevalent, so you could dare say Purdue have their own pick of the litter when it comes to deciding what they want to ban out, and they're going to go ahead and take the choice of Capitao off the board. No fire bolts, no smoke bolts, no way to cut off sightlines besides going the old tried and true smoke grenades, but we'll have to see how this one works out. The defense is a whole nother story.
I think we could almost guarantee seeing a Valkyrie ban, perhaps maybe some other type of intel gatherer like a Maestro, maybe even Echo if they want to get spicy about it, but we'll have to figure it out right here and there. And I was right about the first guess, the Valkyrie. She's incredibly strong in the meta currently. She can have some great intel gathering for her entire team, let alone just herself. You can mix that up with a C4 as well, which Valkyrie does in fact have. And speaking off of Valkyrie, now moving on to the last ban, it's going to be Malusi, another great ban. So overall, I think this is a nice lineup. I'm surprised about the Zero, don't get me wrong, but he can have a lot of impact into the round overall. He is a great attacking intel gatherer and also flank watch if you utilize him properly.
You're going to have to worry right now with this lineup. You're taking Malusi off the board. That's going to be a massive frag player that is typically seen on both sides. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure Smitty actually does like to bring Malusi out as well, and IMAT also occasionally would have as, in return, but we're going to be seeing them start up. Akron is going to be starting off on the defense. Matt is going to be picking up the Mozzie to start off. 6 pick could possibly come through. Doesn't necessarily seem to be going just yet. They're mostly all locking in, but a lot of what you would typically consider to be selfish operator picks for this defensive side. We just saw a Vigil on the board, and a Vigil will be brought to the table. It's pretty rare to see that, not necessarily on this map, so to say, but it is rare to see that come to the table. But not for a team like Akron, not for a team with as heavy set of fraggers as you see that Akron has. They are glorious by all accounts, and if I remember here correctly, I'm pretty sure Matt is actually the highest kill player here in CR6 for this Premier Division with over 200 and I believe 40 kills to their name. It is astronomical by all accounts.
And his teammates as well, they all have around over 100, so it's not just a complete hard carry by Matt, but he definitely has a lot of impact on most of these rounds. And I almost thought I saw something intriguing there, but I'm going to have to just brush that away to the side. But overall, it looks to be a very roam-heavy setup being brought to you by Akron for the most part. That Mute and also, Mute and Mozzie, the Mozzie and Vigil. I'm still used to saying Mute and Mozzie, but it's almost a dead giveaway that you're going to see a lot of roam presence trying to waste that time on the side of Purdue to make things a lot more difficult later in towards the end game. But I like the operator that Laggers brought, that Nomad, which is sadly just all the way just taken care of already by IMAT, proving that he is a great entry fragger, and he's denying such a vital operator of that play from the get-go. There goes your main flank watch, and now it's going to come down to those drones normally used. But luckily, Mila is able to get a refrag on the ARV, so that even things up now 4-4. But I think that one entry onto Laggers was a little bit more difficult now for Purdue.
Absolutely. Getting 2 players off the board quick, nothing too shocking for a map like this. That's just going to be how we start off. We know that Jay-Z talked about this map being such a positive enforcement for both sides, but the name of the game for this map is to take the second floor. Even if you're attacking the second floor objective, you probably should take control of the second floor and work your way from an east to west standpoint. But we're seeing that. They've stepped into VIP. You're seeing Purdue look to try and initiate towards the objective, but they're getting nitro cells shot from below. Floorboards are being used against them, and Akron are doing everything in their power to deny, but they've lost that main time denier that is the Toxic Babe wielding Smoke of Arv, and they don't have the ability to deny into that last 30-second meta. And Purdue is a team that punishes accordingly, but already they're getting punished right back. Mila, thinking they were safe, is not and will be taken out for the count. Phenomenal to be cleaned up, and now Akron have that one-man advantage, and Matt's looking to make it yet another.
VIP push coming on now as well, and it's not that well looking for the current moment. A little bit of wraparound coming in towards luggage. That's going to be Hoku trying to start that off, and an E1D skinner comes out trying to gather as much intel as possible, but it's not going to work out. Matt just stays still and picks up a double kill for himself. Now 4-on-2. Things not looking good for Akron, but luckily Goose Smitty is there to find a refrag. Krima following up as well, though. Down goes Providence, and Smitty now in a 1-on-3 inside of Aquarium. Now he'll throw out another scanner. Still has one left in his back pocket, but if you just stand still, LUL, it doesn't matter. Akron take the first round. Hennessy finishing off the lone player of Lion, and a great start for Akron, but I'm not too surprised. This is their map pick after all, Scott.
Absolutely. When you see a team like Akron pick this map, then there is a lot you have to fear. And obviously, Purdue, they're not in their best wits. I mean, Hokow is a sub brought in. They're missing a player, and that's an unfortunate circumstance. Because if I remember here correctly, when we saw them in the Winter Invitational, it was Akron that was missing a player, and that was one of the reasons a lot of people cited that they lost to Purdue. So it's interesting. Maybe a bit of comeuppance. Maybe it's a returnal thing. Maybe it's just karma working in the works. I don't know, but we'll have to see how well Hokow can fall into this team and how much effort and how much work they put into it to guarantee any level of success. But round 1 in the books for Akron. Akron were able to clean up, play cheeky angles, find those opening picks. They did lose one refrag at the very beginning of ARV, but in all honesty, when you've got Map and Hennessy to clean things off, it doesn't necessarily matter that much, and Akron are now looking to make it 2 back-to-back. We'll have to see what Purdue can change to try and bring any level of success into this.
Also, when you have Surma as well, he was on that Maestro. That's still a great operator to deny that plant. Those Evil Eyes are a massive menace to try to deal with time and time again, especially in those last couple of moments of the round. So I still thought it would be a pretty decent outlook for Akron, sorry. But now, moving into the second round, Kitchen and Service, a completely different bomb site. And this time, we are in fact seeing that Mutant Mozzie that I mentioned earlier in the round. So this time, I won't be making that mistake, along with the odd pick of the Alibi by Matt. So a great operator in terms of fragging potential. Her MX Storm is a very formidable weapon to go up against, and also a deployable shield can be quite helpful as well. But personally, for me, I still think that there are better options, but in the hands of IMAT, I think he'll still do just fine with that operator.
It's going to be difficult right now to see whether or not Akron can put another nail in the very beginning of this round to really just put attack in it. And by attack, I mean a couple of 5.56 rounds into one of the foreheads of Purdue's attacking players. But obviously, they've managed to make it to the wall of the building, which is already better than they had done previously. So they are now on the roof. They can kind of work their way towards clearing hatches, cutting sightlines for these hallways, these corridors that can be so devastating for defenders. I'm honestly kind of shocked to not see an Amaro be brought through. Like, it's such an interesting phrase to say, in all honesty, but Amaro brought in on a map like this can quickly get to the roof and quickly catch a roaming player, an offsite player for Akron off guard, and they can be taken out through these hallways, through that skylight side. So seeing that not happen, it kind of leads me to believe that Purdue is wanting to play a little bit slower. They're wanting to play it a little bit less like a TDM-styled map and a little bit more to their own favor. And Akron is not going to let that happen. They're going to lie down. They're going to do bullet hole peeks. They're going to do cheeky angles, and they're going to do absolutely everything they can to force Purdue into their own play style.
First spin of the round pretty much already off the board, and Akron still has a great lead up above. They're still defending it quite well. C4 comes out, I believe it to be, but not really seeming to land on out. But Purdue, they're not going to have that much time to work with but with the time they have being currently, they're doing a great job of that vertical play and even find the entry as well. Down goes IMAT, one of the players that was a pretty big issue to deal with later on, finding that double kill in the first round, but now he's out of the picture, and another kill almost comes out, but Mila's going to miss some vital shots, and JetCon gets a refrag. Carrier now in the middle of Hookah. It can get picked up, though. Laggers is right there just to retrieve it, but that is, in fact, still going to waste more time on the side of Purdue, and they only have about a minute left on the board. Things are going to get hectic, and because they don't have that man advantage anymore, they're going to really have to fight for that bomb site up against Akron, and unlike the last round, smoke is on the board. That's a great intel, or pardon, great plant denier, and also site denier as well, but luckily Smitty is there to find another frag for his team to make things a little bit easier in these last 40 seconds of the round.
Time not on the side right now of the attackers nor defenders. Defenders, you're man down. Attackers, you may have that man advantage, but you really haven't been able to clear out this first floor to the standard that you wish you want to have. So when you're trying to work your way in from this east side and push your way forward, Surma can deny you entirely from main lobby. Fellow, we talk about this all the time. We love the Aldo. We love Maestros. They have such a phenomenal ability to hold sightlines and deny, but right now, at this point in time, you can't step in from that eastern side doorway, and you're going to have to rely on this actual kitchen window, which is now being toxic babed out. Arvis doing a great way to deny. Hennessy finds one into Smitty. He finds a second to Laggers as Providence picks off Hennessy in return. It's now a 2v2, but it'll make it a 2v1. R finds Providence, and now it's just Hokow left, and they have no chance to finish that one off. Akron will buy their time and complete yet another round victory.
Amazing stuff by Akron already, winning their first 2 defensive rounds. You always hear the line of Coastline is so attacking favorited. Well, I think Akron's just so comfortable with this map that they can pretty much win any single round on whatever side they're on. I mean, they did a spectacular job on Hookah. They found that entry on Laggers, your anti-flank or your flank watch with those air jabs. And then round number 2, it wasn't a great start for them, but they were able to waste that time, slow things down on the side of Purdue. And then the combination of both Hennessy and Arv just at the very end, it put so much weight on the shoulders of Purdue, and they weren't able to carry it all. They collapsed underneath all that pressure. So that's why Akron won those 2 rounds, and now we're heading in towards Blue and Sunrise Bar. A slightly different lineup, but we're still seeing that combination of Mute and Mozzie, and the Mira as well, a very important operator when defending this double bar bomb site.
Absolutely. When you're trying to hold Sunrise, you can put a nice mirror window to watch corridor. You need sightlines to be able to watch and make sure they don't step in from study. There's a lot of sightlines and opportunities to step forward that Purdue can take massive advantage of, but one of the big things they need to do is to get control of Hookah upstairs. They take control of Hookah, and then they have Hatch. They have the ability to clear out the floor, and then they can basically make it nigh impossible for Akron to stay on the actual objective of Sunrise and actually defend it in any substantial manner. So that corner pocket default plant you'll see over by the couches, it's not going to be super effective if they can't clear them off of the site. So Purdue have a lot of options they have to do. They have to figure out what's going to work for them. And right as this moment, it's looking like Akron's trying to make nothing work for them. If you spawn on ruins right now for Purdue, you are about to get your head knocked off because you've got a player waiting, prowling right now. IMAT is hunting for a shot, hoping to find anything, but it doesn't seem to be that Purdue will be giving them the opportunity, and instead a possibility. Oh no, it does not work out that way. IMAT, you do not find 2 back-to-back in a Hokow and Laggers. Absolute devastation. Purdue have been crippled in this round, have lost both of their feet, and are now forced to crawl back and attempt to retake this one.
Hokow and Laggers just being demolished in the beginning of that round, and IMAT's looking for another one. He peeks around the blue doorway, but ends up backing up. He's already done far more than enough damage to try to slow down Purdue's push. There goes your hard breach, and again, your flank watch of that Nomad. Those are 2 very crucial operators to this 3rd round, and now Purdue, they basically just have to out-frag if they want to try to win this one out, and Providence missing out on that shot towards Cool Vibes is going to really be an issue for them moving forward, but Providence still attempting to move on forward, but he'll get denied by Arv underneath. C4 at hand, now bring things to a 5-on-2. Akron just getting stronger by the minute here, Scott. They are just outperforming Purdue in every which way, and all of a sudden, it's just up to Mila and Smitty now with a minute 30 to work with.
I mean, this is a beware of dog situation, but instead of saying dog, it's beware of the zips. And Akron have laid that sign down. Matt finds a 3rd long shot distance from out of hall into Penthouse, is able to find one, and now Goose Smitty trapped inside between Hall of Fame, and there he goes. Life is cut short. JetCon will swing, and Akron will find a flawless victory. They found nothing but W so far, and this one is the prettiest of them all, and on an objective that most people typically don't even want to get near, let alone touch. Honestly, I would prefer to lose one of the other objectives to just play twice. That's how much I do not prefer playing double bar. But no, Akron, madly comfortable, looking insanely nice as of this current moment. Purdue just have found no answers. We're halfway through at the quarter point of this match, halfway through this defensive half for Akron, and Purdue are coming up with nothing but zeros and have found no answers to everything Akron is putting on the table.
I mean, they got to stop Matt on his reign of terror. He is finding entry after entry, and even on the round where he didn't, Akron still won that round, but he had a lot to play. A 2K on round number 1. I mean, down went Laggers and another one as well. Impressive work by him. And then round 3, 2 instant kills when we thought that Purdue wouldn't gift him with such a masterful reward like that, but it still happened. And now it's a 3-round advantage already for Akron on the defensive side of Coastline. I can only imagine how much of a stomp it will be when they're moving on the attacking side of Coastline. Purdue, they've got to change something, like you just said, right here and right now before things get even worse. And I think one thing is for certain, just making sure they know where Matt is in order to deny him of just finding more of these just annoying entries for Purdue.
You've got to stop Matt, right? I think that's the point you're trying to grab at right now. If you cannot stop Matt, you're not stopping this onslaught. You're not stopping the snowball. And as of this current moment, it may be summer, it may be the end of season, but it's still feeling like winter right now for Purdue. They are getting frozen, they are iced out of this match, and they are absolutely getting rolled over by the snowball that is Akron. They have to change something. We know Purdue. I think 3 out of 5 of our people on the desk and caster stated that Purdue, we wanted to root for. We like the underdog. We've seen them play. We've seen them play phenomenally in the Winter Invitational, and here they are again, having made it all the way to here. And they had the more difficult bracket coming into this one. Akron faced off against lower-seeded teams, and I mean, it's obviously they'll have to fight hard teams at this point in the season, but still, Purdue had to face the 3rd-seeded team to get here as well in their last match. They're doing 2 difficult map-to-match or match-to-match. Just, it's not working out for them. Maybe it's being tired, maybe it's just they haven't found an answer, but they have to adapt, and they're not adapting quick enough.
I mean, both these teams have earned their position. This is the best of the current moment for the Premier, and it's so odd just to see Purdue really out of their element. And if they don't pick it up on Coastline, let's say, I hope that doesn't happen, but at least they'll have Consulate to work on. That was their map pick after all, and maybe because we're on Coastline, that's why they're not doing so good. And gun engagement, though, a little bit off topic, we'll head on out. And Matt, again, finding such an important entry. Goose Smitty off the board. Your E1D scans weren't even utilized a single bit. We're now in that last minute 20 or so of the round, and Akron already having that entry. We're basically just seeing a funnel coming in towards the back of Aquarium. Right now, it's not working out all that well, and we're still seeing that roam presence underneath. We could maybe see some vertical play being played underneath by JetCon, perhaps with any of his impact grenades. A C4 kill comes out by Matt. Another 2K, 7-2 already, leading his way up in around number 4. He is just the raid boss, like you would say. A 3K for Matt already. He's looking for 4 in the middle of Hookah, but can't find it just yet. Wraps around the corner behind the deployable shield. Wide swings around, but finally gets shut down by Hokow. It might not be enough, sadly, though. Still in that 3-on-2. Laggers picks up 2 impactful frags, though. Back into a 3-on-2 this time. Purdue still have a fighting chance, but it's down to the wire in this last-ditch attempt for Purdue to salvage this round.
Difficult position to be in. They've stepped on top of Billiards. Does not matter. One goes down, and there goes the second. Arvin Surma cleaning up where the rest could not. Where Matt could not, I guess, is the phrase we'll go with, as they had found 3 and hunted for the 4th and the 5th. But it just does not work out that way. We've stated it, and you called it out. I love to state that when a player is popping off so exceptionally so, like we're seeing Matt do right now, they're a raid boss. They're not just any old boss. They're not just any old target. They are a raid boss. You're going to need 10, 15 people to put this person down to do enough to even make them fear you at this point in time. A raid boss, you put your crosshair on them and you shake first. They're not scared of you. You fear the Reaper, and that's exactly what Matt has been this entire time. It's been phenomenal, Roni. Now we're going to be seeing Alibi come through. We're going to see a little bit more variety across. We're going to see how they hold up, heading back to kitchen in service. So a lot of potential viability. I'm thinking it just seems to be Matt wants to do a little bit more roaming without relying necessarily on a nitro cell to get it done. Maybe they're trying to bait and switch using those alibi decoys to catch a player off guard and give them that extra bit of information. Because if you remember here, John, you called it. Valkyrie's not allowed. We can't have that level of information, and they've been supplementing that with Maestro. They've been supplementing that. We're having mute jammers to deny attacking information, and they've been supplementing it with Mozzie, Evil Eye. I mean, it's just everything across the board that they can do. And instead, they're like, hey, we'll just ping you every once in a while with some annoyance because you're on you're giddy, I guess is the term to say. You're jumpy. You're going to shoot at anything that slightly looks like an operator to give you any sort of edge. And Akron is looking to abuse that and make Purdue struggle even more.
Back on to specific players, though, this was the round where Matt didn't have that much of an overwhelming presence. He was up above on the alibi. This is the exact same lineup that we saw in round number 2 when Kitchen was brought on the board by Akron, but it was basically just IMAT stalling for a lot of time. He didn't find any impactful kills. He ended up dying off the rip, giving Purdue that early on man advantage, and it wasn't one of Akron's stronger rounds up until that end game. Like I mentioned, the Toxic Babes played a huge part into the round. Hennessy fragging out with that MP5K as well had a big deal with that as well. So it's going to mostly come down to those frags as well. I mean, Coastline being a frag heavy map, of course it's going to come down to the frags, but even more so than you would anticipate. And Mila almost finds that opening frag on a Hennessy, but luckily he'll live to tell the tale, only being dealt a little bit of damage towards him, not having his head ripped clean off, but he'll still live to see a little while longer and try to stall out this push coming in from Kochek in towards Pink Bar, but it'd be better probably just to get out of dodge and just live to see another couple moments of the round.
Yeah, you just have one player really defending the Sunrise, and when you've got one that's trying to step in from pool and they're just trying to get some substantial positioning, at 2 wanting to go to Hookah deck on that stairwell, they're trying to maybe put themselves forward to push Hookah. It's strange to see teams actually try to attack Hookah deck. It's a rare sight to behold, but they're trying to just step inward at all right now. Purdue are trying to do anything and everything they can to do it. It's kind of worked out. They've damaged 3 of the players for Akron, substantially so. I mean, Matt and JetCon combined don't even have 50 HP. Hennessy, you could add probably the rest to it, and it wouldn't matter, but Hennessy now has 0. Taken out by Hokow, an early pick to come through. Purdue finding their level of success early, and looking to maybe continue going forward. They'll find a second. Laggers takes the shot into JetCon head and gone. And now a 3v5 underway. 1 minute and 8 seconds now on the clock, and Purdue have put themselves in a good position to find success, but they're going to have to worry about everyone left for Akron, and Arv is already making that known, finds Laggers. And this 3v4, 2v4 from Mila finding Arv could be substantial. Purdue do not want to find yet another round loss. They are greedy for this one, and they're doing everything they can to find it.
It's up to the raid boss of Matt and Surma. Matt picks up one on a Smitty. Now in a 2-on-2. Surma picks up one as well. Things evened on up. Things looking a little bit better for Akron. Another kill comes out now. A 2K for Maestro. Make a 3K! Akron out of nowhere. We talk about that end game and that Alda being such a menace towards the last couple seconds of the round. It works out perfectly for Akron. They go 5-0, moving on to the 6th round. Amazing work by Surma. Oh my goodness, Scott. I thought that was a round win for Purdue, but leave it up to Matt and Surma to wrap things up so efficiently for Akron.
What a way to continue this dominant reign. Purdue did everything right up to a standard point. They changed it up. They adapted. They were bringing out some interesting playstyles of having a lot of emphasis towards that Hookah side, and they had emphasis towards Hookah deck, and then they just swung in different directions, and they found success. They got the kills, but they didn't get the 2 most important people. You and I always agree, John, that it's going to be Maestros that we always look to no matter the situation. And Surma has been playing spectacularly through that, not just in terms of kills, because, I mean, let's be honest here, it's been Surma that's been cleaning up a lot of these last rounds, and it's been Matt that's starting off the rounds, but you're not seeing it as much to the end, because Surma, only see the feed for 2 seconds before the round is over. They just clean up all their kills, and then it's done and done. and it doesn't seem to matter right now. Akron's firing on all cylinders. They can lose 2, they can lose 3, and still manage to find a round win because they didn't find Matt. The raid boss lives on, and Surma is starting to show that, hey, this might not be a solo raid boss. This might be a duo. You got to keep your eyes out for them too.
Yeah, it's the prerequisite, I suppose, for fighting Matt. You got to get through Surma first, his little henchman, his little partner in crime, I suppose. And what better operator to put him on than the Alda, or the Alda-wielding operator, Maestro, I should say. And you always forget about it until the last 30 seconds, and you're like, oh dear God, there's a Maestro in the middle of sight, and he's going to mow me down with 80 bullets of just a water hose. That thing is not just a water hose, a laser beam is that. But back onto Matt, he'll go for a bit of a spawn peek, but not going to find anything. But now, because of that, we can move back onto Surma. It's, again, not worrying about things until the very last minute. That procrastination that can be such a nuisance. I mean, college players know plenty about that. I do as well, being a high school student myself. But you never want to procrastinate. You always want to make sure you have that plan A and have plenty of time to execute that first plan. That way nothing comes blowing back towards your direction against the opposition. And that's exactly what we saw. Purdue wasn't anticipating that Maestro to be around behind that shield and out-dueling 3 different operators. I mean, it was just an amazing display by Surma. And even if he died, let's say, and then it became a 2-on-1, I think Matt could have confidently won that just because of time being in the hands of our Akron. But a little bit interesting, Matt getting injured, I think, from a C4 by Arv, but luckily he gets revived. But it's a little bit interesting. I don't know why Arv detonated that, but that's all right, I suppose.
I think he was trying to clear hatch, but it just doesn't work out. Laggers will finish off Matt before Matt can even be brought back into the fight, and Arv will just take Laggers out instead. A consolation, he'll down his teammate and get the kill onto the enemy as well. But a 4v4 setup, the raid boss has been removed, and it required a player of Akron to do so. So that may be a confidence booster for Purdue, but it also doesn't negate any confidence for Akron, which is a big way to go about it. When you do find a kill on such a substantial player, you want to do it yourself to build confidence and to negate theirs. But it's not going to happen. Instead, the 4 players for Akron, you're going to have that, I think you called it the henchman, the minion, that is Surma still alive and a very high viability to be able to find some substantial picks. These ED1 drones coming out from Smitty, hoping to maybe catch a moving player for Akron off guard, but really and truly just seems to be tertiary information, nothing really beyond that, and it's going to have to be a difficult standing for Purdue to try and continue to push forward. They're finding information. They'll take a fight against JetCon, and they'll find the kill. Providence will clean it up where necessary as Hokow is able to down. Providence is stepping up to defend Hennessy, but it's not going to matter. Hennessy will find the second kill on top, and now a 3v2. Purdue brought the one-man lead and immediately fell to a one-man disadvantage.
Your top players all the way up above, now down for the count, all up to Mila and Goose Mini now, and they're still trying to attempt to clear it above possibly, but they don't have the time nor resources to do that. They have to push in towards the bomb site, and being down on that man deficit and a lack of information as well, this could be devastating. This could force them down into match point. Great long shot by Arv, bring things into a 3-on-1, all up to Mila. Carrier not in his back pocket. He'll have to win his gunfights to win out this 6th round for his team. Picks up 1 onto Arv, still has to find 2 more though. Intel being gathered onto him, and it works out not in his favor. Surma shuts him down and denies a round win for Purdue in the first half. 6-0, clean sweep so far for Akron as they bring us to match point, and the sides now finally switching.
Well, that definitely does not help the argument that this is an attacker-sided map. And the Zips have really, speeded.
Scott,
What's up?
It might be an Akron-sided map. You ever thought about that, perhaps?
You know what?
Continue.
I think you might be right here, John. I think you may just be accurate here. It indeed does feel like an Akron-sided map. This was their choice, if I remember correctly. I think you talked about that earlier, and they're looking exceptional on it by all accounts. And I guess the question is going to be, how can Purdue face off on Consulate, which I believe is our second map we're heading to? And it's a little bit sad to say that we're already going to be talking about map 2, but it does seem to be that map 1 is just getting wrapped up quite quickly from Akron. Unless Purdue can find a difference, find a change, find the difference maker, then Akron may just continue to end this one off in a very quick 7-0 fashion. I think Purdue have what it takes. I'm just not sure they have what it takes on this map, because Akron have shown near perfection to get through here.
It doesn't matter if they don't find an entry right off the bat, they'll eventually make up for it. And even if they don't find anything, if they lose a player, not even just break even, they eventually just make up for it in that end game. That's been a big issue for Purdue, and not just that early game as well. Like you and I both have said, it just seems like Akron is just, they're playing perfectly. It would make sense, of course, because this is probably a map they're incredibly comfortable with, and it is a shame that Purdue wasn't able to ban this up against them, and I bet the exact same thing can probably be said for Console once we move on to that second map, but hopefully it'll be later rather than sooner, because this could be the last round possibly. Akron just has to win this round against this hookah defensive hold by Purdue, and then they bring us to Consulate as well, and I bet our analysts will have a lot to say about this clean 7-0 sweep if it does happen. A lot of ifs and not a lot of this is actually going to happen, but I like the setup that's being done by Purdue so far. It's a little bit different up against what Akron had to bring on the board, and the aggressiveness, though, that hasn't changed. Mila almost picks up that entry, but it's not going to be unanswered, except by Arv, who annihilates Hokow. Oh, goodness gracious. Akron, they might bring us away 7-0, Scott, especially with a great entry onto Hokow.
Yeah, you thought cows go moo, but cows apparently go to sleep, because that's exactly what happened. Starting very early on into a 5-on-4 now, where Akron, you thought R was going to be felled by your player of Mila outside of penthouse window, and it just doesn't work out the way. Mila's not able to finish the kill, and now Hokow gets punished because of it. So because you left Arv alive and were not able to finish it off, Arv lives to tell the tale and lives to make sure your teammate can't tell the tale. And that's going to be devastating to the mentality, devastating to this round potential, and could just be the final nail, or maybe the beginning nail that is the final nail in this round. But already Toxic Babes are having to be tossed does not necessarily bode well for Purdue with 1 minute and 45 seconds left, already having to use those time-wasting utilities. And Akron are doing a good job to waste those out. A run-out comes through, but a Claymore from Matt finds Smitty. Arv's able to connect with the second, finding Providence, and now 5v2 underway. It's just Laggers and Mila, the last two standing. Make it last one standing as Laggers taken out from JetCon and Sunrise Bar inside of Kitchen Service. It's just Mila, and Courtyard has no idea what they need to do, just nodding and shaking their head, shaking in their bootstraps, and Arv will finish off the plant, and it looks to be that Akron will finish off this map.
Plant being down as well, this is almost an unwinnable position for Mila. He almost spots someone behind the blue bar top, but he can't spot him out, and Surma gets a freebie. Akron, oh my goodness, what an impressive display by them. 7-0 on map number 1. You don't see that every day, but like I said earlier, at least it makes sense because that's the map that they played. But oh my goodness, Purdue not gaining a single round win on them that entire display.
This is a speed run at this point in time, I guess you could say. Akron is definitely showing off on all cylinders. I mean, even when JetCon, who's one of your top fraggers for your team, typically speaking, only needed 4 kills to get it done because Matt found 10. I mean, you just had so much going on that Purdue just couldn't find an answer for. So, obvious result, 7-0 victory on Coastline for Akron. The zip straight through into the next map. We're going to have to see if the Purdue choice of Consulate, if I remember correctly, is going to really be enough to do it down. But this will be it for me and Fellow for now. We'll see you back on map 2 when it's ready to get underway. We'll head it over to our desk. Chief, take it away.
Oh boy, that was spicy. The caster said it best. A speed run? I wasn't quite prepared for it. I mean, they call themselves the Boilermakers. That's awesome. But they boiled over, erupted, steam all over the place. Akron, they shifted into high gear. What an incredible series. Jonah, were we expecting map 1 to be so dominant? You're mentioning that this is Akron's favorite map, but 7-0 favoritism?
I did expect them to win this map, but no. To answer your question, there was no world in which I imagined they would take this 7-0. And the world that they do take it 7-0, that is not a great one for Purdue going forward. Of course, we'll get into that in just a bit. But what we saw on this map, it's not like Akron did anything crazy or out of the ordinary. That was Akron on Coastline. Every time it looks like that. You have IMAT running around and shooting people. JetCon is going to join him. And then you go on the attacking side and they make very quick work of you if you're going to get aggressive as well. Purdue, they came into Coastline unprepared, and that is not a good sign.
IMAT doing IMAT things. An incredible player all around, but an interesting stat line that we have to look at. We saw Akron Zips. They lost the opening duel, which means they die first. The 4 out of the 7 rounds. That is a head-scratching statistic because common wisdom says, well, if you get the opening duel, that means you tend to win the round. But Stock, why was that not the case for this series?
It was unfortunate having that advantage and then simply losing the round, which for some people they might not understand what was happening, but it was repeated rotations. And with those rotations, a significant lack of trades. We're seeing, unfortunately, a lot of what appears to be solo pushing on the side of this Purdue team for their entry and their roam clear. We're seeing a lot of people die without anyone to be able to answer back within a short amount of time. And I wouldn't say it's a lack of coordination, but it is definitely coming across that way where the distance between these attackers is really biting them in the rear end. I mean, we're seeing these Akron players basically just walk free around this map and oftentimes up behind unsuspecting attackers. And that has not paid off for the Purdue team to get those opening round picks and simply throw them away in that manner.
Chief,
I mean,
I want to jump in here and add one more thing because what Stock just mentioned, I've got to double down on that point because you go into a round as Purdue and you have the advantage, and you're, like you said, you're up more often than not, and you're simply just throwing it away. You're allowing these individual roamers to tear you apart. No round was more indicative of Purdue's struggles than their kitchen attack. It was a 4v2. They finally, for the first time, had a very successful roam clear. They worked their way right into kitchen, and what happened? Surma, with an Alda in hand and 81 bullets in all, mowed every single remaining player down. A 4v2 from Purdue. That round, the most troubling in my mind, really sticks out and really shows that Purdue never really had the footing they needed.
You know, guys, I'm so happy with this analyst desk. I was about to ask you about that round. I mean, we're just on the same wavelength, and unfortunately, Purdue, they aren't on that wavelength. You're highlighting their inability to find a primary insertion point, clearing out the map. So is that just coming down to IGL errors where they're not really breaking down those minigames, starting with a step goal? Hey, we know Akron, they love their grandiose roams, running around the map like hooligans. Are they not addressing that soon enough? Or is it them just trying to, think about their round in a linear fashion and skipping those steps, Scott?
Well, like when you get to that point, that transition point in the round, and you struggle to really make that execute happen, those are the moments where I see IGLing mistakes come through. And unfortunately, I wish there was one thing we could point to, because that's a perfect example of one thing that we can pull out from a game and say, here is the issue. That was not the case for Purdue. It's not like they struggled with that transition point in the round. They even struggled to get in the map.
So to make those corrections on our next map, going into Consulate Stocked, what needs to be done? Because unfortunately, the stairwells can plan out very similar to Coastline.
For a map like Consulate, there are a lot of alleyways of death if this Purdue team decides to not clear that room out efficiently and to not trade it out. That's going to be a big failure on their part. So I would say the top 2 points for them for attacking side, I would say the big point would be making sure you have those trades, the coordination, whether it's IGL calls or just making sure everyone's on the same wavelength. And then the second point would be for defense is basically having that coordination in order to not let this Akron team simply push through you, because they set a very fast pace, and we know we're going to see it on the second map as well.
We know that they love to take gunfights, but once again, we've done a lot of theory crafting. Let's return back over to our casters to start off map 2.
Thank you. Wonderful as always. Thank you very much to our host desks, Chief, JZ, and Stock. Really great to have you guys here and a great way to digest that. Now, to touch on a little bit of the strategy in terms of in-depth for going into this next map, Chief said it best. It's similar. The stairs can bode kind of the same way, but a little bit less in terms of centralized focus for maybe getting a spawn peak, maybe going for an early pick outside the map, because Jay-Z stated it's difficult to even step in the map if you were Purdue. You were getting denied at every angle. I mean, Matt did a spectacular job of doing that individually, and Now I guess it's going to be a completely different story. This map doesn't really forgive spawn campers, I guess you can say, and it also doesn't really reward them that well either. But, fella, what is your take as we head into this next map?
I mean, if we're doing it based off of picks, then I have a lot more confidence in Purdue. Maybe they won't win the match overall, but they can at least guarantee themselves a round win here and there. This is a comfort pick for them, So, maybe Coastline just wasn't in their forte. They didn't want to go there. They figured, Akron's going to win it anyways. Let's just not study it up against them. Let's just focus a lot more heavily on our strategies upon Consulate. And I don't blame them, because Consulate can really throw certain teams off guard. And the bans also have a great part to play as well. So I want to see how these turn out to be as well, whether they be really uncommon like we saw with the Zero ban. And in fact, we do see another Zero ban coming on out, but maybe some familiar bans as well, like a Thatcher perhaps, because he does have a lot of influence on this matchup, especially when attacking that basement floor bomb site of the garage and cafeteria area.
No, I'm going to say it. Akron are better than me at the game, right? But I find it hard-pressed to find a lot of teams that know something that I don't in terms of playing R6, in terms of strategy beyond R6. Do they know something I don't when it comes to banning Zero out of play? Is it a Purdue? Is it a target ban? Is it Purdue's... I don't know. Do they favor that pick instead? I have no clue. Akron is honestly bringing out an example of something that I necessarily didn't expect. But our second ban is the tried and true Thatcher. Take that one out for the count and not have it available. But Purdue, seemingly a target ban here as well. They don't want to deal with it down in the basement. They don't want to deal with it on the first floor. Now the second one as well. They're going to be targeting out Serba, not allowing that Maestro to be played. It's useful utility-wise, and it also is a great target ban against, but the Malusi will be the last one again. Akron is just saying, no, not allowing Malusi to be played. Same with Zero. I would be kind of shocked to see that those bans get switched for map 3 when we head over to it. I think Akron may just decide to stick with their tried and true ones, because there's really no point in not doing so.
And also Mira being on the board as well. This looks to be a little more comfort fitted when it comes to those bans. So we could see a boatload of Mira picks maybe on the basement floor bomb site. Right now we're not seeing that, of course, but maybe later down the road that could come into effect. And also, the fact that Valkyrie's on the board, she is such a strong operator in this game overall, and also on Consulate too. A lot of great roams can be had with that operator in particular, but sadly we won't be seeing her either. But at least Cafeteria was a confirmed bomb site for Akron so far, and their lineup looks to have a little bit of a roam presence, at least from the beginning. Then maybe they can just hold down the fort in the middle of the bomb site itself, because whether it be finding those frags early on by IMAT on that Vigil or the Mozzie in particular, or maybe having Surma just playing underneath and just trying to gun down the opposition in just better areas, or Arv with those toxic babes. It really seems like Akron is prepared for almost any single situation whatsoever.
You kind of have to be. You have to be prepared for anything that can happen, and Akron have definitely shown a high level of preparation when it came to our last map of Coastline, but Consulate is a different dark horse. It is an entirely different story. You're going to have to focus a lot of attention for this offsite presence towards B1 on this first floor. You got to put a lot of focus and centralize towards main lobby. You're going to have to worry about piano as well. If they step in towards white stairs, going to worry to that direction. There's so much that could go wrong for a defending team, but there's also just the same level of things that can go wrong for an attacking team. Because for an attacker, you've got to be able to clear floors, and there's a lot of floor to clear on this map. Akron could just play heavily off-site, and it does look to be just that. They put a lot of presence off. It doesn't seem to be any one player to the third. I think they started the second floor. I think they may, in fact, choose to head up. IMAT is indeed up there now, and they're going to be holding in this direction, maybe trying to contest if they try and step inward. But at this point in time, Purdue just need to play safe, try and figure out what Akron is bringing to the table here in round 1, and then attempt to adapt as the rounds go on. If they can come out positive into the second half of this map, then I think they have a very good chance of defending and actually winning a map against Akron.
And I recall in the analyst desk that those three glorious dudes actually mentioned the fact that Purdue needs to do a little bit of a better job on their roam clearing. It really just seemed like they had one person just trying to flush out players like IMAT, and especially people like Laggers as well that was on that Nomad pick. Now he's going on the Yana, so it's not as big of an issue if he dies off the bat. Now it's Providence on the Nomad, but again, Akron able to win those gunfights pretty consistently. You have to put them at a disadvantage, kind of play their hand in a way they don't want to. That way you can actually win those gunfights, and Smitty does just that basically every single angle being denied, and Smitty picks up a second as well. Almost immediately, we're seeing a completely different Purdue on Consulate. I think I might have been right. It could have possibly have just been the maps themselves, and Purdue, on a map that they're comfortable on, they find those 2 entries and they're getting ready to get control of that bathroom area, start doing that vertical play, then getting that main triple wall opened up in garage. This looks to be an almost perfect execute coming out by Purdue so far, but they're still going to have to deal with Hennessy on that first floor, and with the Mossberg Shoddy and SMG-11 combination at hand, he could be a deadly opponent to deal with right now in this last minute.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you still have to worry about B1. Time isn't necessarily on the side of Akron. It's also not on the side of Purdue. Purdue did a good job of rushing in and actually taking substantial position without it and not wasting too much time on that second floor. But now they're taking some damaging fire from their teammates and struggling to really get in and take full control of this B1 side. You saw the Gemini Joan come through. They're looking to toss a nade. It's cooked. It's going to not make it into the doorway. Unfortunately, now Hennessy is got a freehold position. He's bought a minute of time at this point as they're attempting contest. And Arvel finds Smitty from below, but now Mila takes Soma out as they attempted to shoot from below as well, and it just doesn't work out. Hennessy with a fire position, goes for the shot, misses the opportunity, does not miss the second, and does indeed find the kill. Now a 2v3 underway. Arv is still below, hunting for its prey. Hennessy trapped in B1, looking to step down at some point in time as well. They've jumped in now. It's not going to matter. Hokal goes and steps in from the garage, denied from Hennessy as they've stepped into press. And now Providence on the outside has to make their way over with the assistance of Laggers. But Laggers is rotating in from the east, and they're going to try and push downstairs. Arv finds Providence, a 2v1. Laggers has no time. Will have to drop down and go for the plant. Cannot get it down in a safe position, and it will allow for Arv to step up and swing out with the blade. Akron will defend and somehow manage to win round 1.
And then that end game as well of Hennessy and also Arv that was talked about on map number 1 as well by myself on one round in particular for the kitchen defense. I mean, again, it doesn't matter what kind of position Akron is in. They'll just win it. They simply do not care. They're built different, Scott. They're down by 2 separate players. They lose their roam presence on the top floor, but they can still rely on the 2 SMG wielding SAS defending operators to bring back that round as a win for themselves. I mean, that's got to be such a mental blunder by Purdue, but maybe they'll have some more success because finally Purdue, they've looked a lot better already on just the first round alone. Those 2 entries still had a big part to play on that round, and I don't think Purdue would have gotten as close as they were to winning out that first round if it hadn't been for those 2 kills. But now, unlike the bottom floor, we're going all the way up above. This site is defended, of course, a little more differently, but I figured you should probably take the wheel on how this site should probably be defended for them.
Yeah, this is an interesting site to pick up and actually go for. You see a lot of teams just don't want to play this, and for good reason, because trying to defend that western window and having a repelling force that can come through, you see a lot of collegiate teams especially that will choose to bring Blackbeards out and actually play that, because while you're more than likely not going to get the first shot off, you'll at least be saved from the first bullet and be able to frag back in return, but they're not bringing that. Instead, they'll more than likely see a breaching round come through, catch some damage into the wall and barricade, and maybe gain a sightline. But if they put a little bit too much focus in that direction, that's one player you don't have the assistance of to clear the rest of the building. And we've talked about it. I've mentioned it before. This map is massive. It's not a simple square like we saw previously on Coastline. It is a massive rectangle with 3 floors consistently with a large amount of space you have to work through. And Purdue, they did a great job of clearing the second floor previously, but that one there was only 2 Akron players defending it. They couldn't even clear the first floor when there was only 1 Akron player defending it. And that just kind of bodes bodes poorly for Purdue. Now they're going to have to put all 5 players, or essentially all 5 players for Akron on this second floor and face off against their full route, but they're going to start off strong. An early pick does come through, Smitty finding Arv, and now it's just 4 players to work off against 3 on the top floor, if I remember correctly here, because Matt is now down in the basement and has been droned out. So Purdue doing a good job to gather that information and now just need to act on it.
They haven't done anything yet to deal with Matt. I feel like they're just waiting for him to make some kind of hiccup on his return back up above, and then that's where they can strike upon him and bring things to another 5-on-3, where hopefully Purdue end up winning out this second round for themselves. They're still doing a great job, Harper. They have that man advantage, and they're getting ready to start getting control of long desk, along with working their way in towards projector. They even have a little bit of players underneath, like Mila as well, but I'm feeling like he might go back on towards that connector window, instead trying to annihilate players like Hennessy, of course. Right now, it's still looking pretty strong for them as well. A minute 20 left. Purdue haven't lost that man advantage, and they're just taking their time. They have plenty of it to spare. Once they start flushing out these players and forcing Akron to be in a really uncomfortable position, like I mentioned last time, this could really be where Purdue starts to shine, but Surma doesn't really care all that much. He annihilates Mila outside, bring things even on up 4-4 with the last minute on the clock. Akron, although they are getting forced into an uncomfortable position, they could still win this out, especially since that man advantage is no longer favoring either team.
Actually, just as soon as you say it, that is the caster's curse at its finest. Hennessy doing a good job of making it into their favor. Unfortunately, Providence will just frag it right back, evening it back out as Matt will succumb. But now Providence finding a tear, gets Hennessy, can't get the second on top of it as they attempted to spray through. And second to be Surma. Smitty steps up and finds Surma instead. Refrag for refrag consistently now. It's just JetCon remaining. Smitty is planting. They're trying to spray through. They'll actually get some damage off, but they won't be able to stop the diffuser from being planted. Positions are unknown for JetCon. They're spraying corners, trying to find the right angle. Coming around the corner, Smitty hunts for it, cannot find it. Instead, JetCon will, and it's a 1v1. Laggers is down below as Service stairs in the first floor. Does not need to step up for that level of aggression. Has all the time in the world, and JetCon can tease this diffuser and just bide their own time as well. They have 7 seconds to do so. Laggers is now going to be able to step up and maybe contest. Doesn't have the natural sideline. He's going to stick it, but it's not enough time. And Laggers will give Purdue not only their first attacking round win in this map, but their first round win in this entire series so far.
Finally seeing some success for Purdue. Amazing work by them, and I knew they had it in them eventually. They were able to find that entry off the bat. They didn't really give away any of their map control, and once Akron started refragging against them, Purdue just simply returned the favor. They eventually got control of site in that 2-on-1, and there wasn't really much that the lone Jaeger player on the side of Akron could really do in that position. It almost did seem unwinnable because of how well Laggers was playing in that position. He had a grenade to work with. He knew he had time on his side. It didn't matter how exactly he played it, just so long as he was able to walk up that Visa stairwell and just win the gunfight against the player defusing. And he did just that. So finally, things evened on up now. And like you said, Purdue claiming their first round in the series and also the matchup for Consulate. And now heading to Archives and Teller, that double floor bomb site, I believe it's B, and the lineup by Akron is terrifying. Look at all of those C4s along with impact grenades, and even Inaruni joining the battle as well. This is just, I'm shaking in my own boots right now, Scott. This is so scary. I'm in a horror movie right now, man.
A horror movie, yeah, in all accounts, absolutely. This is a dangerous position to be in for, I guess, both sides. Akron, if they continue to play the second floor, then they'll be a force to be reckoned with, but we can kind of think about round one, can't we here, John? Round one, I mean, you saw Purdue, I think it was, Smitty found 2 kills back-to-back across all the way over from that second floor in a nice east to west fashion, completely cleaned up Matt, and I believe it was Hennessy at the time. I may be incorrect about that, but just completely took all of that withstanding second floor hold from Akron and just denied it. And this is one where you're going to see nitro cells aplenty. And for a team like Akron, that is one of the most coordinated and well-versed teams in terms of team chemistry and playing together, because they even have a team outside of Collegiate, it's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But already an aggressive stance coming forward. Purdue able to find one, trying to trade it back. There'll be a player down as a shocker from Hennessy. Does take one in tow, but Smitty finds 2. Now able to revive and bring back Providence just maybe, but Matt's going to drop down. Contest Surma has been downed as well, and now it's just Matt in a 1v2. Can push, maybe denying the one player, is able to find it, and now bringing it to a 1v1. It's just Laggers. They were lagging behind. They almost caught Matt in the rear. You'll have to pick back up the diffuser information gathered from the Akron side. It's only been a minute into the round, and we're already back to a 1v1 here, John, and time is not of their essence. Laggers is going to have to rotate back upstairs all the way to this first floor objective and will attempt this plant at this point in time.
Matt working up the back service stairs as well. The ping is coming out. He has plenty of intel. He hears the sound cue. Leg comes out. Matt's going to win the fight. Akron take the third round. The 1v1 clutch by Matt comes out. This is why he's the best player in the league. And there we have it. Akron. They managed to bring back the round win. Impressive plays yet again, but man, I did not anticipate that much aggression coming out in the first minute of the round, Scott.
I mean, I think the last time I witnessed that was in CSU versus, I can't remember who it was. It was here in CR6, though. I made a joke, a meme, basically. Not a dank one, just a base meme. That was something along the lines of, I think one of the best strategies you can do is just rush it. Just rush, right? Especially for garage. You open a hole in the garage, you have the ability to do so, step inside of piano, and get a floor hole, take out the mute jammers, or Kai, electric claws, whatever it is they have, and then rush in from garage. And instead of doing that, they just rushed in through corridor stairs. It might have been Purdue, in all honesty, because they're just brought that out here. The exact same strategy of just rushing through and going down to that spiral stair. Man, that is an interesting one to say the least. It definitely didn't work out, but it could have. And honestly, it should have worked out. It just came down to poor positioning or poor timing, I guess I could say, for attempting the revive. And Matt punishes them accordingly and wins it because, I guess, Laggers was scared to try and contest that 1v1 for more than a few moments.
It's all about the timing, and he probably wasn't able to hear Vigil as well of Matt just working his way around to pick up the injured player and also Providence as well. It just, you hate to see it. And also Laggers planning out in the open and right near the rotational hole. It was all the wrong things happening at the perfect time for Akron apparently, and they were able just to mark it off of those mistakes by Purdue. So they'll go up 2-1, now heading back in towards garage and cafeteria. And this was a round from the beginning that seemed like it would be a win for Purdue. They found those two entries, Goose, Smitty, shutting down the two roamers up above, and I believe IMAT was one of them as well. But even then, they still didn't win out this round because players like Arv and Hennessy, that double SAS combination was just too much of a difficulty to get around, or too much of an obstacle to get around for Purdue, and it really did suck to see them lose out that round, but hopefully they will be able to clear out that bathroom area a little bit more effectively, on top of keeping that same success when it comes to clearing out the top floor area of admin, for example, because Goose Smitty, he's already there. He's been fragging out of his mind so far on this second matchup for Consulate, and he's looking to find even more, but luckily he has the backup of Providence as well, that flank watch, along with trying to clear out players with those air jabs. And IMAT also might already be looking for an escape route possibly in towards piano, but he still has a little bit of aggression left up in his sleeve as well. He didn't save it all for just the last third round.
Yeah, I mean, Matt hasn't had the most spectacular game when it comes to this one specifically. I genuinely think all of Matt's kills were in the last round where he clutched it up, but that's not what we're expecting of Matt. Matt is the raid boss. We've been saying it all of Coastline. We'll hopefully get to be able to say it on Consulate, but really and truly, it's Goose, it's Smitty that's been able to do it instead, and they've looked great 7-0-3, doing a phenomenal job of taking control of the round and setting the pace. It's mostly been Smitty that's been the full force aggression for the second floor to sweep. It's taken them a bit longer. I think they cleared this in round 2 at about 1:50. They cleared the second floor entirely and got 2 picks off of it. But this time around, they're still at 1:15 and haven't fully cleared. They're still trying to make sure it's completely safe, trying to gain sightlines where they can, but that's not where the objective is. They still got to go down a whole nother floor and then a floor below that. And we know what Hennessy can do in this bathroom, and it's not what you typically do in bathrooms. Hennessy can hold inside and just play straight and not have to worry about a single thing because they can play their own game. Mute jammering out, no chance of a Gemini drone to catch and sniff them out. No chance of any information utility. I think they placed an ADS. They did that the last time we saw this objective. They've done so much to help and assist Hennessy without needing Hennessy to or another player to actually be there to help Hennessy. Instead, they'll just play the 4 below and just gain sightlines where necessary.
This might just be too much of a commitment for Purdue. It's half a minute left on the board, and not a single kill has come out on either side. Hennessy is still up above as well, having those toxic babes by Arb helping him out as well. And speaking of Arb, he'll pick up that entry. Only about 15 seconds left. Things are looking spectacular for Akron. Max shuts down Laggers as well. He'll get injured in the process, but it doesn't really matter. There's only 10 seconds left. Purdue at a massive deficit. They have to funnel in through the toxic smoke. Providence picks up one. Hokow having to go for the plant now. Pistol comes out by Providence. Providence. He picks up another. Molina shuts down one, but it doesn't matter. There's no time left, and Surma denies the plant coming out. Akron taking their third round win, bringing us 3-1, moving into round number 5.
What a great way to finish that one off. I mean, Purdue narrowly brought that back. Genuinely did. It came down to a firefight where we saw pistols are brought out from Providence, if I remember correctly, just trying to hold out and play in, managed to find a kill, went for a knife as well. I mean, we saw a lot happening in the span of about 2 seconds. And it's interesting, to say the least, to see how that one panned out. But Akron was able to deny, they were able to stop, and consistency is kind of king for them. I mean, when you're looking at the scoreboard here, Purdue really just have IMAT, and then the rest is somewhat around there, but Hokiao just not following suit, kind of struggling at this point in time. None too shocking, to say the least. Purdue had to make a sub. It happens. But Purdue, we're seeing a team that is trying to adapt, but Akron's just adapting faster, and they're not letting IMAT's original transgressions of round 1 and round 2 stop them here as they stepped into round 3 and round 4. Now into round 5, IMAT has shown up, has gotten kills, and has shown they are once again a driving force, tied for the top frag in a 3-way split for Akron. But I mean, you still got to worry about Smitty. Smitty has 7 kills and is just backpacking Purdue into this map, but I don't know if this is a hiker's backpack. I think these straps will fail, and I think that Purdue's weight is going to pile on top of Smitty, and Smitty is going to succumb under that pressure.
There is still a glimmer of hope, however, for Purdue. This is the one bomb site that they ended up winning on the attack. It's Council and also Meeting Room, or Protector, as some people call it as well in the higher ranks. But their attack moving in to this top floor defense was pretty phenomenal, and also quite defaulted as well. They got control of admin almost instantly. They found that entry and then just slowly crept their way out of admin in towards Projector and got that plant down. And then in that 2 versus 1, there wasn't much left for JetCon to really do in that position. Yes, he found one, but you need to find both of them and get that defuse off, and there simply was just not enough time nor information for JetCon to work off of. So hopefully Purdue can win out this round for themselves as well, maybe make things towards that 3-3 split, or even 4-2 split possibly, just to give themselves a little bit of a chance up against Akron, because like you said, they're still playing pretty consistently and almost unstoppable to a certain degree.
It's a driving force. I mean, you got to think about it. I love to use the analogy of a nail in a coffin, but it really just seems to be that Akron, the nails are their individual players, and then Akron's team as a whole and everything they do to coordinate is the hammer. It is the driving steel, blunt weapon that just drives that nail in and just cements themselves, completely plants themselves into the hearts and minds of not only their fans and people around them, but also their enemies and the teams they're facing. They are nigh unstoppable. There's a reason why Akron is deemed the best of the best, and they are showing us at this point, and Purdue are doing everything they can to slow that down, but it is not working in their favor. They've got to clear this western side. You've got 3 players alone holding towards console. You've got Arv sitting inside meeting, hoping to stay alive. These shields being taken out systematically, and Purdue have just got to get one single sightline to be able to put themselves in a position of dominance, but they can't get it done. There's a lack of, I guess, progression coming from Purdue, as 2 will be felled because of it. An Nitrocell drop from IMAT just does not make the difference. And now Providence is just trying to wonder what went wrong for their side as they attempt to come up from service. Long shots, trying to take a long angle. Sprays knows the shield is there, but with no assistance from the teammates, it's not going to matter. It's going to be Arm finding Providence as Hokiao is able to find 1 kill into IMAT, but will it be enough? They're attempting to step in from this hallway side, east to west, getting the long shot angle, but this exit stairs players will not let them have anything to go off of. Begins to step forward, trying to get behind the desk, not really sure how to go. Does find the shot into JetCon. A nice kill, goes for the second as well on top of it. Hennessy will be felled. Hokiao, 3 kills in this round and 3 kills total, but Arv finds Smitty. It's up to Hokiao to get the ace, and it's not going to be allowed. Arv finds them all, and Akron will win round 5.
Oh, what an amazing performance by Hokiao, but Akron again just not letting their foot off of that gas pedal. And oh my, 4-1 split so far for Akron in the lead right now. I cannot fathom it right now, Scott. Even on a map pick that wasn't supposed to be a favorable site or pick for Akron, they're almost just as unstoppable. They may have already lost that flawless 7-0 possibility, but we might just see 7-1. The one bomb site that Purdue ended up winning up against Akron just was denied in that 1v1 up in the end. I mean, and Hokow, he did such a great job that round, almost getting the ace, but it was denied. It really seems like the odds are just no longer in the favor of Purdue, and Akron is just trying to get this money bag and just bring it home, run away with it as far away as they can into the sunset, and only hope for the best. And their lineup again for this next bomb site of Tellers and Archives is just going to be such a difficulty for Purdue once more.
It really is a difficulty. I mean, you're coming in this last round before the half. Purdue only able to clean up one round, and in all honesty, it wasn't like a round that was necessarily easily theirs. It was hard fought. They did have the post plant, so you could argue that it was an easier scenario, but Akron really went for the tried and true pros don't fake. They stuck it, and it didn't work out. It was unfortunate for them, but ultimately the rest of the rounds have really panned out in their favor, and we're going to see whether or not this split objective, having to hold yet the basement and right outside of check, I mean, it's not the easiest objective to hold, and Purdue like to just sprint in. They like to do what Chief hates, holding the shift key in W and just running straight inside. If they do that again, which is pretty expected because they've already done it before, then I think Akron's going to be prepared. I think Purdue need to take this one extremely slow, a complete difference from what we saw them do prior if they want to make Akron have to fear for anything coming into this round.
Especially if you're going to have that lull W mentality, it's probably best you try to approach it the best way possible. It almost never works out when pushing towards small spiral when you're on that aggression. The best option when attacking Archives and Tellers, if you're going to be aggressive and try to go for a rush, is just trying to rush towards Garage, perhaps. That's normally the best option you can do as well, especially when you have players like Surma that are gathering so much intel on the opposite side of the map towards admin and also Visa from the very bottom, the depths of the map for Consulate. It's the best. I mean, you do have to deal with that raid boss of Matt, who's just waiting for some type of run out to come out, perhaps, or ready to run out up against Providence, but luckily he has that air jab in his back pocket to kind of save his own skin, and it seems like Purdue really hasn't been able to do much at the current moment except gain that top floor control, but IMAT's able to try and escape. He picks up one, and JetCon follows suit. Akron somehow able to win both of their fights off the bat, and Purdue just being shut out of trying to win out this sixth round, and it might just come down to an attempt at frags, and I think we all know who the Gunner Kings are in this matchup right now.
Akron just firing on all cylinders and firing on all levels, not only the second floor, but also in the first floor. And they might have to just distinctly worry about the first floor because Matt was attempting a high presence as they attempt to step up that stairwell, but denied and now forced to kind of take a step away. Hokow is reeling off of the 3K they just got the round prior, which is the only 3 kills we've seen them get in this map so far. But boy, did they look good getting them, able to deny a lot of potential. I think they got IMAT, they'd gotten Hennessy, and I think it was JetCon in the last round, but now a potential play has to come through. Only 3 players left for Purdue. Lagos is taking a step back, but will also vault over the railing of Spiral Staircase of main stairs, and is now having in a position of, I would say, dominance behind the statue. Will throw the Gemini drone out to maybe gather information. It is a way to contest. Matt sees a 4 out of a player, has to, I guess, crouch spam their way away to stay safe in the process from the firefight that may ensue. But with the 3 players holding this side, it looks to be a Teller's push, but Matt finds one. JetCon finds a second. It's now just the last player left, and it's not gonna matter. They cannot get it done. Surma with a nitro cell didn't even need it, in all honesty. A teammate was there to find the kill, but it is all over in a matter of moments. We saw Purdue find 1 round win, but it's still a 5-1 at that halftime switch.
We're not going to be looking down that gun barrel of match point just yet, Scott, but we're right around the corner of it. We're at the cliffhanger moment. This is either where Purdue can try to prolong the inevitable, or we just see Akron try to just get map number 2 over with and bring us to the 3rd map, which, already for Akron being at such a great lead so far is so worrisome. If you're rooting for Purdue right now, they don't look like the same Purdue that I've heard about during that analyst desk. From what you've been saying, they were coming back. They were on that redemption arc against Akron and a lot of other players inside of CR6 and teams, I should say. And it's just gone. They've lost it all on the one matchup that matters most, and Akron is just taking full advantage of that right now.
You have to take advantage of every situation you're given, and Akron has just been doing that tried and true. I mean, there's really nothing that Purdue has brought to the table besides two interesting strategies. One was not really a strategy. It was a very quick rush to the second floor to clear it, where we actually did see, the two players felt up top. They ultimately did lose the round because they weren't able to clear the first, but that was a very successful round where they completely cleared second floor, about a minute and 50 left on the clock, and then they're rushed through as they attempted to take that split objective once again like we saw last round, but they just rushed down to go into server and try to play in that direction, but it didn't work out for them because you had IMAT where they was able to clutch up and save the round. But now it's just one round away from match point for Akron, 2 rounds away for a devastating loss for Purdue. This doesn't necessarily bode well for Purdue, and they could be coming in at a 2-map loss as we head into map 3. And I don't necessarily know if their map bans were yet enough to do it, because Akron has shown us a completely different game than what we were expected. This was expected to be a very close matchup because Purdue is the tried and true, has beaten Akron before, and probably will continue to do so. These are legacies that teams are building and continuing every day. But Akron is just not letting Purdue's story come out on top.
It doesn't look like it so far. There is still hope, of course. You can never give up. I've seen 2-0s turn into 3-2s for the opposite team. You and I casted a grand final just like that, where the underdog was in the lead, and then all of a sudden they just lost it all in the end. It didn't matter that they came up 2-0, because then it was brought to 2-2, then 3-2 as a loss for them. So maybe we'll see Purdue perform that possibly, but maybe they won't even skip to that 2-0, as Gooseman does find that entry on IMAT. He'll try to keep things alive for his team, and still able to do an amazing job of stalling this roam clear up above by Akron. They've already lost IMAT, a very important player when it comes to finding those entries, but luckily Arv has been there to show up as well, dropping one more kill as well by IMAT as well, and still hasn't found that entry yet, though. A little bit of damage being done to Surma as well. It's not that good looking for Akron at the current moment, because they still haven't cleared out Gooseman, and right now he is wasting so much time up against Akron, and he almost finds another one, but it's not going to be that lucky in this next gunfight.
Does not work out. JetCon finds the pick into Smitty, and that does even things back up in this 4v4. Mila has a position holding exit stairs, will be able to rotate back. Not enough, and Arv is behind, catching them off guard. Now Akron back in a 4v3, have the man advantage. Didn't necessarily need it. We've seen them win worse deficits. At a point in time, it came down to, I believe, a 1v4, and we had seen IMAT clutch it up, but IMAT dead. Not able to do so. You have to rely on the rest of the team that's been so consistent so far. Arv is still alive, has done so well, but it'll be Hokow who finds the pick into Hennessy, guaranteeing them to take it down again. Providence holding down this basement stairwell, just tagging JetCon in the rear, not able to clean up the kill, but Laggers is into Surma, able to guarantee the shot as they attempted to step towards Cafeteria, but Akron's push, their rush, shut down and denied, and Purdue are doing a phenomenal job as of this moment to make it difficult for Akron to get any substantial positioning to step towards the objective. But I believe Hokow may have to fight and contest Arv, who's attempting to step inwards. They have Maverick utility. Arv finds Providence on the first floor, now stepping downwards towards the yellow stairs. Holding, he gets some shots towards the Cafeteria, but JetCon stepped inwards, tries to get a spray over, narrowly misses the opportunity, but it'll be Arv who's actually felled instead. A 1v2. JetCon attempted to place, will hop off of it, finds one kill. No way! And it goes all the way. Akron find round 7 off of a miracle play from JetCon.
Oh my goodness! Oh, you've got to eat that up, Sophia. You get those W's. Akron do bring us to match point after a miraculous recovery in that 2v1. I mean, with no one to cover the plant, I guess you got to go for the kill, and the stars just simply aligned for Akron once more. And oh man, the moral game right now in the hands of Purdue is just falling through their hands like sand at a beach right now, and they've got nothing to show for it. They've only won a single round, Scott, in this past matchup. And throughout the entire series, like you said, they got 7-0 on Coastline, and they might just get 7-1 on Consulate, their map pick, for Pete's sake.
This does not bode well. I mean, we've been saying it so much here, John. I mean, Purdue, they've shown us some things that I necessarily like, but Akron doesn't like it. To the point at which they say, no. we'll see you in the next map. No, we'll see you in the next map. No, we'll see you in the next map. And we're about to see the third map. We're about to see it go through when Akron just 7-0s in the first map on Coastline and now heading to Consulate, that CC combination. I don't think we're seeing Chalet, if I remember correctly, so we don't get to see the 3C out, but we do get to see a 2C out, as it looks like Akron's looking to just finish this job off strong. And one of the best ways we saw that come through was Arv, who did a great job of distracting. We could have seen the side of Purdue rush down JetCon, and instead JetCon, who had the safety net of actually planting down the diffuser, could have done it, but instead hops off in the last 4 seconds of the round. The last 4, mind you, and finds the last 2 kills in that span. Same spray, just same clip, does not matter. Akron finishing off in a spectacular fashion. Purdue left to wonder, what happened?
They let Arv just get away with some nasty plays, and JetCon as well. That 2K should not have happened. I'm gonna be blunt. That should not have happened, but it must have been a miscommunication on the side of Purdue. They must have thought that JetCon was sticking the plant when in reality he got off it, and Purdue just didn't have their guns up in time, I suppose. But it does happen, but that's the one time where you don't want it to happen, where you're 1 round away from match point, and then another one followed up from losing the second map and putting yourselves in series point in the first 2 maps in this matchup so far. I mean, it's just incredible the way Akron has been playing in almost any circumstances, even on rounds that they should not be winning. They still win it regardless. I said that before on Coastline, and now I have to end up repeating myself even on Consulate already, when I feel like it hasn't even been 2 hours yet, Scott.
I don't think it has either. I think we're nearing the hour-and-a-half mark. It has been exceptionally quick. Akron have made quick work, I guess, is the phrase that you could use to say it, and it's showing that now. But you see the players are playing on the outside, gathering information. They're putting a lot of focus in attempts to clear the second floor, but they didn't even really need to step in. I don't think we saw a single player actually look to push the second floor, and instead they just put pressure and they were able to force Purdue to step off of it. But Mila finds the first pick, finding IMAT as they were attempting to step up from yellow stairs, and they are able to take a man lead because of it. But Akron doesn't necessarily need that man lead. We've seen it time and time again. Matt fell first the last round prior, and yet they still won the round off of a pretty substantial miracle play, but still a round win nonetheless. Mark it in the books. They're going to be up now in a 6-1 fashion, but fights does go through. Mila takes Arv, that top dog of their side, able to find a second. Now Smitty is able to turn and get Hennessy, but JetCon swings and finds Smitty right back. And this might just be all she wrote, because Providence puts an end to JetCon. No chance for play this time around, and it's just Surma in a 1v4.
A lot of things for Surma to try and attempt to do, and he's not even going to get a single opportunity to do that. Mila shuts him down, and Purdue will remain alive for the time being, but they still have to win 4 more rounds after that one victory just to bring us to overtime, let alone win map number 2 in their favor and bring things to a 1-1 series scoreline. It's really big shoes to fill for Purdue currently, and that is probably one of the, if not the best site considered by most on Consulate. The best bet for them now is to, I guess, just try their luck still and just hope for the best, I suppose. They'll attempt lobby and press, and their lineup still looks really strong, don't get me wrong, Scott. But again, 4 round wins in a row when Akron has only given you literally 2 rounds in the first 2 maps. I don't know. It just seems like a David and Goliath storyline arc where Goliath just beats David into a living pulp right now.
Yeah, I mean, it really seems like more of a realistic David and Goliath story, right? Where it's a stone will not save Purdue. They're going to need a moon, like their logo implies. But at this point in time, Akron, they're going to be playing a favorite objective. I think this is one I've seen Akron play multiple times. They do like this one. And it's going to be interesting to see just what strategies they have to defend this one, whether Purdue goes for, Akron to attack this one, whether Purdue goes for a substantial position for aggressiveness, if they want to try and deny the Akron rush, if that does come through, or if they're just going to play long shot angles and really focus that second floor once again. But I think there's going to be a level of danger for Akron nonetheless. Obviously, Matt's been taken out twice now back-to-back, now switched over to Ying and is playing with the LSW, maybe trying to remove the retinas of some of the opposition, the one-man army that is Ying. And I think that's being brought to the table because they need the Candelas to clear eyes, to clear sights, and they need the smoke canisters to clear out sight lines in general so they can get a plant maybe through front door or maybe in back pocket, the northwest pocket of main hall. Either way, Akron decides to go for this. They still have to face off against Purdue, and none of IMAT's utility is going to matter if Matt dies immediately off the bat like we've already seen them do twice now back-to-back.
Hopefully the Ying can just surprise Purdue. Not many teams always anticipate that Ying to come on out, and I think that for the most part she could be considered underrated or at least underpicked. I think people understand how strong she is, but she's not played a lot. I mean, we've only seen her right now. She's being whipped out in match point by IMAT, and the Ashe hasn't worked out for him. He's died off the bat the first 2 attacking rounds, but luckily, at least on one of those 2 maps, Arb and JetCon were able to pick it up for him with those entries on both the Maverick and Zofia. But now he's going on an even more assertive operator, that Ying, which can just completely blind and impair the vision of so many different defenders, and then the smokes as well to help out Arb get that plant down. Even the Yokai drone cannot see through smokes, unlike the Maestro Evil Eye, which you can, but Maestro's banned, and already about that intel, 1 Yokai drone being eliminated, and the entry favoring Akron already, and we're going to have to see that retreat come out as Surma did in fact shut down Hokau. This could already be the end of the second chapter of this best of 5 series because Akron could just take the cake right here, right now, having themselves in that man advantage. They're getting that plant down. JetCon and IMAT pick up kills of their own. It's only a 5-on-2 already, and this just might be unwinnable for Purdue, and we might go to Villa, Scott.
I think, and we just might. I mean, you're still seeing Candelas go off. I think Providence did manage to find that nasty shot over towards main hall, removing Hennessy from the equation. Mila's attempting an outside peek, does not go in their favor. Now downed, Providence trapped inside of this basement steps and no longer allowed to live, as Surma will clean it up in a spectacular finish for Akron as they only allowed a few rounds to go and fall through their fingertips. I think you attributed it to being like sand on the beach where they just yoinked everything up and didn't let very many grains fall through, but everything has to change if you're Purdue. You're looking at a near 3-0 complete loss if you cannot stop Akron and their phenomenal playstyle. You didn't see IMAT be that star player this time around. Instead, third on the board, did have tied for second most kills, but it was Arv, that standout player. But we aren't the people that were brought here to necessarily digest. We're just here to sound pretty and look pretty. But my name is Infernos, joined by Fellow. We'll see you guys in a few short moments for map 3. Chief, take it away.
I was absolutely shocked after that 7-0 going over to Cons. Well, I was prepared. All right, this is Purdue's best map. They are known for one map. It is this lovely map. And a 7-2? Oh, I'd be even more blown away. I mean, we're joking about them boiling over earlier. Hopefully they can start to condensate up in the clouds and stop Akron from running away with it. Water cycle jokes aside. Oh my God. Jonah, tell me about that series. What is standing out to you from the side of Akron?
Well, Akron look excellent as always. You know, I know we're going to talk in just a moment a lot about Purdue's mistakes, but before we get there, it is important to highlight the fact that Akron are playing really well. And the reason we're not sitting here going, oh my God, this is the best team we've ever seen, is because we've seen them do this 11 times before. They look excellent as always. Arv, I'm going to give the MVP of that map to him, stepping it up on those flex support roles every single round. But I think emerging as the top frag of his team, which is very impressive to do, especially from that role. Akron all the way around, defense and attack. They started off so strong, impenetrable, and Purdue, a team that are so comfortable on a map like Consulate, they just couldn't get through it. They just could not get through pretty typical setups. It's not like the roam was too powerful. IMAT wasn't going as crazy as he did on Coastline, yet the time waste, the lack of a roam clear, the simple, slow nature of these Purdue attacks, it got them.
So in map 1, we saw Akron. They had the most opening deaths. Now, Garrett, what changed in map 2? Because Akron only had 2 opening deaths, and they happened in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, so like it was said before, this was the Purdue map. It was the more hesitant map on the side of Akron, as they're not normally accustomed to playing on such a map. So I would like to attribute it to that part. They were playing a little bit more cautiously on a map that, they knew they were coming into this map expecting Purdue to play this as if it was their own personal property, and they were very, very cautious with their play in comparison to the confidence and aggression that we saw very, very frequently on that coast. Seeing those picks come out for the Purdue side in a little bit less of a frequent manner, I think was definitely a change of tempo for Akron.
So we've seen Nomad bans become quite common in T1 through T3 play. She's currently sitting at about a 55% ban rate. However, Akron Zips, they're currently banning, well, zero twice. Jonah, do you have an understanding of why that could be happening?
The zero, it's a very interesting ban because you usually only see a zero, save a couple of very unique teams here or there. Honor Esports CL team and plays in a lot of community leagues. They're one example. They love the zero. But more often than not, Nomad is going to be your preferred operator to the zero every single time. And you only see the zero in cases of the Nomad is already banned previously. And this has not been the case for these two maps here. It's been the zero ban right off the bat. And it feels pretty meaningless to me. Like, I don't think that Purdue are missing out much. It's not like their information game is all that weak, nor does the zero really help your information game that much. I think Akron, they're just having fun with it. They're going with the zero ban because, maybe they've seen Purdue strategies before and maybe they'd rather deal with air jabs than those cheeky little zero cameras. I really don't know what it is, but I don't think it's making that much of an impact.
So we're talking about the macro structure of these rounds, but let's get in those fun details. Round 4, Garrett, there's a couple things that you wanted to highlight. So let's get into this replay and start thinking about our Gigabrain IGL plays.
Absolutely. And what I specifically wanted to highlight was the pacing. We've seen this repeatedly be the kryptonite of this Purdue team up against Akron tonight. It sounds bad that we keep harping on the mistakes, but like I said in the pregame, those mistakes are recoverable. I mean, we're at a minute left, and we still have a player that is sitting in bathroom, just taking his time until he is able to make his play. Now, they did end up changing the player that was in there from Arv to Hennessy, which we saw Arv tossing his smoke canisters up to that bathroom door from underneath the hatch, which on the side of Purdue, that simply slows them down even more. I mean, we're at 35 seconds left. Vertical play is opening up at this point in time, and not a single player has gone down. Surma's taken about half his health off. We're just now seeing util burn on this player in bathroom. 20 seconds approaching. It is a tragic situation, and then the first pick comes out on. So this delay in time, followed by the pick on by Arv, and then IMAC coming in for, I believe it was a late rotation. This just spelled disaster for the Purdue team, which led to absolute chaos.
You can see Providence here just trying to make like that last second push with literally 5 seconds left, whipped out the pistol and tried to find some frags here. But I mean, the round was already over at that point and there was nothing they could really do. And Garrett, I love that you highlighted how long it took because yes, like you said, 30 seconds was all that was left on the clock by the time Purdue even thought about the basement site. And they had spent so much time on that top floor, so much time on that second floor. They clearly were flustered. They clearly knew that they were out of time. And it's just not something you can recover in a flash, in a quick 2-second execute against a team that knows how to play passive when the situation calls for it. You are not going to be able to adjust massively enough to recover for 2 minutes of wasted time.
And what blows my mind even more is we saw 2 of those exterior garage walls left soft. If you've played Rainbow Six Siege, you know that those walls have to be reinforced. We even saw Hardbreed successfully on the wall over by White, and it was just a brawl to say the least. Even IMAT was able to do the same thing back in the early rounds at 1v3. And JetCon entering in through Zofia, that 3-second 1v2, incredible. Jonah, what are they doing? What is Akron being fed right now? How are they able to save a round for the brink of destruction by just going nuclear and clicking heads?
Well, at this point, we got to talk about JetCon because, I mean, that was the player who clutched it up. And, in the background on the analyst desk, we had our own little conversation about JetCon as well. And we were saying, JetCon has been a star for as long as he's been on this team. As young as this player is, as new as he is to the scene, JetCon is making such an impact. And when you have a player like IMAT, when you have a player like Hennessy and Surma, it's no wonder that JetCon doesn't get talked about enough. But we just saw how useful this man can be. He wasn't going as crazy as we normally see, but JetCon was on another level. Even though Purdue, they had the man advantage, they were ready to clutch it up in the basement. JetCon is like, you know what? I'm just going to click your head before you can. There it was. He takes the round. Akron move ahead. They continue their dominance, and it doesn't stop there. I mean, that is why this team is so dominant and why they always have been. You don't only have this core, this Surma and IMAT core we talk about, you have Arv, JetCon, and Hennessy backing them up. And when somebody isn't stepping up into their normal role, you've got another gunner, another star to fill those shoes. Akron proving that depth of experience, that depth of skill in our second map here.
All right, so let's say, hypothetically, we're building a Pokédex, but it's full of players in this server. Jonah, you're mentioning that Arv is your MVP, but we're going to have to go over to Garrett now. If you had to pick one player from this lobby, you're going to put in your back pocket and keep with you in every single scenario. You're playing ranked, it really doesn't matter. It comes down to their brain, it comes down to their mechanical skill. You can choose the traits of that player that you like the most. So again, one of the 10 players that's just standing out to you the most.
If I have to go with one player, I'm going to have to go with a support player. I'm going to have to pick Therma on this one. You see these situations where, in those last moments, IMAT and JetCon may be dead, and yet you still have a rock solid player on site able to effectively manage the rooms and, if needed, deny that plant. So I got to show some love to my fellow support players. I got to go with Therma.
So we've seen domination from the Akron Zips. We still have more maps to go. It is a best of 5. We're going to pull up our maps and show you where we're going next. It is going to be Villa. This map is known for testing IGL. So as we enter in map 3, Jonah, who does it favor?
You know what I'm going to say. You know what we're all thinking. It is Akron's territory all day long. Now, even if we were coming into this series completely fresh, ignoring what we just witnessed in these last 2 maps, I'd still be saying the same thing, but even more so, that our round deficit is now 14-2 in the favor of Akron on this series. I mean, your reaction says it all. I mean, it's utter dominance from Akron and Purdue. Sure, they're not necessarily going to be expected to be winning this series at this point in time, but I really would have expected them to have a couple of more rounds. I know they're lagging behind, and now going to Villa, a map that is characterized by roam, that is characterized by just difficulties in forcing out these individual players just hidden behind one corner or the next. Purdue are walking into a minefield, and those mines, it comes in the form of IMAT and JetCon. They're going to be frying people. They're going to be tearing it up. And if they can't get a handle on it and they can't do it at the immediate onset of this map, this one could be over very quickly.
So I want to return back to history once again. Map 2 for Akron, they decided to bring out a different site rotation. We'd see Basement, which everybody knows and love, and then they brought out CEO followed by Split. Now, that round 2, that secondary bomb site CEO, Garrett, that is not played at all in professional play. Actually, if you look at stage 1 of the NAL, it had only 2 plays, and it was won once, lost once. So why did the Akron Zips go in favor of a bomb site that the professional players won't even touch?
If I have to pin it on one thing, it is a matter of observation. For those of you that follow that high level play, the reason that people don't play top floor is all of those windows. Once the team gets control of admin, they open up that long desk wall and they start putting pressure on windows. You can win almost the entire site just by sitting on repel. So it was a dangerous gamble, I will agree. But we saw on Coastline, there were very few times that Purdue was making use of the windows and the repels that were available to them. I can't remember from my own personal memory, if there was a single time that there was a player that was actively pressuring big window when we were on hookah site. There was some pressure from underneath. They had some guys going the IP side, but I think it was observation. I think that was an IGL call, and that's really all I can attribute to it because it's a very risky gamble with how unsuccessful that side is.
So we just heard how quaternary bomb sites can be that knee-jerk reaction for an IGL. Jonah, before we send it over to casters, does that mean living room library is going to happen here in Villa?
No, it does not. We are not going to see that. Get out of here.
I bet. Please. I want to see it. But also, I want to see map 3. Scott, please take us away.
Well, thank you for the transition, Chief. We always appreciate you having around, whether or not be on the casting desk or not. But like the man said, the old boomer does tell some wise tales. We're going to be heading into map number 3, Villa, the lovely old countryside. And I can't believe we've already brought ourselves to this third matchup here. Akron already 2-0 match point and series point. I mean, did you expect this at all, Scott? Because even with me favoring Akron, I really didn't.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I've seen Purdue play. I've seen them beat. I've seen so much like happening everywhere. And no, I did not anticipate Akron to take it in such a lopsided affair. What was it? Came out to 14-2 round differential right now. I mean, it is by all accounts Akron's game. They are running away with it. I think in terms of back when I played high school soccer, there was something called a mercy ruling. And it was a 10 points up differential is what it required. So you never saw it. But a 14-2, that's 12 differential. It is a pretty static margin. Akron have definitely shown no mercy, as I guess is what the phrase I'm trying to go for with that. They have shown no mercy whatsoever. They don't get to pick first for their ban, so they didn't get to ban 0 right off the bat, but Purdue just does them a favor and bans out Thatcher anyways, and so Akron now have free reign to, let me guess, take a wild one, ban out 0. So we're probably going to see the secondary ban come through as well. Probably what Malusi is what we're thinking is what they've done consistently, so probably the Malusi back-to-back, but I guess the question really comes down to, what is Purdue's ban going to be?
Maybe a mirror, perhaps. I honestly would have 0 clue. They've done a spectacular job on that Maestro along with the Valkyrie pick, and the Echo pick that Purdue brought last matchup really wasn't a threat at all. Akron was able to break those yokais pretty effectively, and when they were going for those smoke grenades to cover the plant, the yokais just weren't there to cover it, or deny it, I should say, but they're not going to go for any intel operator whatsoever. It's going to be the Kaid ban off the board, which I suppose makes sense when going for that vertical play to try to remove anything off the main walls to get that hard destruction. The electric claws are basically just undestructible. You really cannot find them. You can set them up in just unspottable positions, and then that removes a lot of play coming out by Akron, especially when they're on the attacking side first. And oh my goodness, I'm seeing a glass pick, Scott. What in tarnation is this? By IMAD as well? I was going to say for a minute, I'm expecting a 6 pick, but oh my goodness.
No,
man,
we could see it. We could see it. We could see the Russian man himself come
I
through.
was like, oh
I
my
mean,
God.
to be fair, we can go back, 4 seasons in R6 to when Glass was in every single game.
Busted.
And that was after, no, that was, yeah, right after I stopped playing Siege the first time I had ever stopped. I had been a huge Glass main before that, and then they buffed Glass, and Glass got brought to everything, and I missed that entire meta because I was focusing a little bit too much on a different game. And I just completely missed that meta, and I came back, I was like, yeah, I hear Glass is good, and they're like, no, got nerfed, he's not good anymore, and I was like, and then while I did that, my other main for that other game got buffed. It became popular. I've never had a good time. Let's just say that. I've never found that niche, that market where my playstyle fits in perfectly. But obviously, starting off, we're going to have to see whether or not Akron's attack for a map like Villa will, I guess, surmount. We've seen them typically starting on the defense, if I remember correctly. I may be wrong about that. My brain not work too fast sometime. It is final season for college, so please excuse me in that aspect. But Purdue defending, Akron attacking. We know that Akron can attack. They did give up 1 round on the attack, but they've also only given up 1 round on the defense. So, in all honesty, I think Akron just need to play their own game, swinging in from this northwest side of Master Bedroom and just catch Purdue slacking.
I think this extension by Purdue is going to be very tricky for Akron to try to dodge around properly. So that might cost them for Akron to be a little more precautious, take more time on the drone game. I mean, that sideline that can be all the way down on a deep angle is so devastating, but Smitty's not going to need that long angle. He'll find a kill in towards Memorial. Down goes IMAT, a player who you normally expect to find that entry. He was a little bit at a slower pace on map number 2, and he's going to have to sit out on bench for another 2 minutes before we go into round number 2. So a great start for Purdue, and Akron not having this top area cleared out near the side of trophy and statuary is a little bit worrisome as that first minute now comes to an end, but there's still just enough time for them to at least find something. But not just that map control, they also have to find a refrag of some sort and maybe a kill to bring that man advantage in their favor. That way they have a much easier time to actually get control of those 2 bomb sites, go for that plant, and then turn this round back in towards their favor so they can win this first round like they have on map number 1 and 2.
I mean, Akron statistically has lost quite a few opening picks and still have managed to come out on top in a 14-2 deficit. But when you just keep getting more and more people felt, it becomes more and more impossible. Providence is able to take out Arv. That was that top fragger for the last map, and now a 3v5 underway. Akron have to find answers. They'll find a short one with Surma finding Providence, but it's still not looking hot for them as JetCon and Surma combined just narrowly don't make it to the 100 HP margin, but they're looking worse for wear. That's the least you can say about it. But with a minute on the clock, Purdue can just bide their time. Is that a double kill from the same Nitro? Mila finds 2, Hennessy and Surma hanging their heads down, not sure what just happened, and Mila will complete the trifecta, this time with the Vector, and JetCon will say goodnight. The first round will, in fact, go in favor of Purdue.
Amazing stuff. Milo with that 3K like you just mentioned, 2 C4 kills, and Purdue finding the entry as well, wasting so much time and manpower up against Akron. It really did seem like a lost cause for them. They couldn't get any roam clear out on the bottom floor, or even the top floor for the most part. Purdue ended up retreating later on at just the right moment, and then the C4 as well, the icing on top of the cake, I guess if you want to call it that, just an amazing round. And I only hope to see more rounds come out like that for Purdue, because they have to win this match, or part of this map, my mistake, not even just a couple of rounds here and there, or they're done for. They've already lost the first 2 maps of Consulate and Coastline, so everything, and I mean everything, Scott, is on the line right now for them.
I don't want to say this because it does sound a little bit negative, and I have nothing but respect for Purdue. I absolutely, one of my favorite games of casting for collegiate level was their Winter Invitational match, but there are 2 Winter Invitational matches I got to do, but it almost feels like this map could just be a consolation prize for them. I like to say it's a consolation kill. It doesn't really mean much, just a pat on the back. It's not impactful. It's the only one they're getting. This map feels like it could be a consolation map. If Purdue get this, I have no doubts that Akron can clean up the next 2 where necessary. And you know my opinion about Cafe. You know I don't like Cafe, right? So while I don't want to see Cafe, I want to see Purdue succeed. I was rooting for Purdue at the beginning, and the 7-0 in map 1, I could say, okay, well, Purdue can pick it up. It wasn't their map. Then it became a 7-2, and then I go, okay, well, Akron are running away with it. But Purdue just need to take a map, and that's the confidence booster they need. If they stop the snowball, which was the entire story of map 1, if they stop the snowball, then they stop Akron. And if they can stop Akron, then they win. That's all it comes down to. Just shoot first, click heads a little bit faster, and find success. And if you can't do that, then it's just not going to work out for you.
You know, it's a really simple process, Scott. Just don't die, Omega lol.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just that easy. You know, you dumb it down to the simplest form of winning out these matches. Just kill them. Just click on their heads, Omega lol, and just don't die, lol. I mean, it's that easy. It's so easy. Chat can even spam it out for me right now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But back into the actual matchup, a little bit of the banter being brushed aside. Maybe later on we'll go back into that deep banter dive. Purdue doing a great job on another very heavy roam extension, about a minute already being burned off the clock for Akron. So it's not that bad for them right now, don't get me wrong. They still have a minute 50 to work with, and all of their players are still alive and well. But once we get towards that last minute, maybe even last 45, 50 seconds, things are not going to be as pretty for Akron, and they're already being forced to push a little bit farther back in towards 90 hallway. That C4 almost finding some success, and Mila holding down the long angle in towards 90 corner itself. This is an amazing double peak being performed by both Laggers and Mila, and Akron really second guessing themselves right now. It's not looking all that confident. They've kind of put their tail between their two hind legs, and they're really just hoping for the best. JetCon swings around and just gets annihilated by Laggers, and already the entry coming out favoring Purdue, but luckily Surma is there to refrag, but another refrag will not happen up until now as Arv shuts down Hokow. Now in a 3-on-3, last minute on the round. Things are looking fantastic for Purdue, and Smitty picks up a second for himself, the carrier, right on the top of Red's stairwell. He just has to hold it down, but IMAT gets rid of him off the board now. Back to an even man situation, 50 seconds on the clock, still any team's game.
IMAT's doing a great job of attempting to bring back Akron into this round. Arv, if you want any two players to be there for the clutch, maybe you want to bring JetCon after the phenomenon, I believe round 5 play, or maybe round 7 play we saw from them. But at this point in time, I mean, IMAT and Arv, they're your big dynamic duo. They have what it takes to win this one out. They do have to face off against an SMG-11, an annoyance of a weapon to deal with, and of course the 416C, but now there's no nitros available for that side. Taken out and relegated out for the count. Matt in a firefight with Mila does damage, goes for the spray, thought they down, but did not, and Mila just cannot come up with it. Instead, Matt will and begins to plant now inside of Trophy. Is trying to get a long shot angle. R finds it instead, and Providence cannot get it done, and Akron will instead. Round 2 in the books. We're tied 1-1.
I mean, just the aggression by Akron in that last-ditch attempt to get the site control in their favor. I mean, I guess the A in Akron stands for aggression. I say that one-liner a lot for aggro, but sadly they're not a collegiate team, so I can't say it. But thank you, Akron. I can keep my exact same stale one-liners in a completely different league now. I appreciate you for that. I mean, I don't know if he knew that the player was still alive inside of Deer, but it didn't really matter. He just ran at him with an R4C, and he just won that gunfight outright, allowing the site to be in the hands of Akron, and they wasted no time getting that plant down. Perfect coverage by Arv, and he just won the gunfight. He took his time. An SMG-11, it may be a great weapon, but in those medium to longer range kind of gunfights, I would kind of favor the Type 89, especially with that ACOG at hand. It was almost a guaranteed win for Akron once they got rid of the one player that was in the bomb site and got that plant down. It was almost a guaranteed win for them. But we'll see a reattempt by Purdue, and although you and I both can be hecklers about teams that like to go to the exact same bomb site twice, especially with a similar lineup, it was close. Maybe if that C4 by Providence didn't miss, for example, maybe they could have had that one in the bag, and maybe in that 2v1, things would have turned out or possibly turned a different leaf for Purdue, and they could have been up 2-0 right now. So I don't blame them for wanting to go here once more, because it was most certainly down to the wire.
Yeah, and I think that if Akron can just change one thing as well, then it'll be even more lopsided for them. I think what we're seeing right now is just basically the same thing we saw previously from Purdue in the round before, which is why you and I don't like seeing the same objective twice. It breeds complacency. It makes me uncomfortable, because it's a level of, hey, this is insanity. Far Cry 3 reference of saying, repeating the same thing over. Also another Ubisoft game. What a coinky dink. But you're just repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. You do not want that. That level of complacency does not belong in a strategic shooter that is a level of R6. And it's not nice to see that come through, but we are seeing Akron switch things up as well. We had seen Akron take a massive level of presence to go in on the south side, coming from Study and coming up that staircase. They're still trying to do just that, but you're also seeing IMAT below on the first floor, maybe holding near central, maybe trying to gather more information. They'll take out one of those Mozzie pests and able to drone out a little bit further, and now Laggers has been pinged out as far as I'm aware. They'll clear out that wall. Laggers now forced to take another step backwards, and it's Laggers and Mila combo once again. That's holding that 90 pillar, and of course also holding behind bar. It's going to be devastating for Akron once again if they can't get some assistance, more than likely from Surma, to rotate through aviation and help to assist. But Mila may actually help them out in their own, falling down that hatch and dropping to the first floor.
A trade comes out, Providence picks up one on a Hennessy, but IMAT is there to shut him down and trade things back out. And Arv picks up one on a Hokow right outside of the master bedroom doorway. Now 4-on-3 as Lagras trying to get contested near that bookshelf area. He'll still be playing behind the bar top, though, waiting for another peak to possibly come out. He's holding down that devastating angle, but JetCon is also going to be able to return the favor, just waiting on the top of that main stairwell in the prone position. C4 coming out by Lagras. It's not going to connect onto a single soul, but Goose, Smitty's P10 Roni connects on a Surma. Now a 3-on-3. Things looking a little bit better for Purdue, but Akron's going for the plant. IMAT committing to it, and Arv has perfect coverage. There's no denial, and Akron is turning the tables. Arv and JetCon pick up kills of their own. It's all up to Mila. He gets one on an IMAT, but it's not enough as Arv is there to wrap it up, and Akron just, again, having complete control of the site, get the plant down and just turn the coin into heads, and that's what they were betting on.
They bet, and they get their chips back. It works exactly in their favor. We had seen the nice positioning from Mila to try and hold inside of that bat sub, get a long shot angle, gets one, can't secure this kill into the second, and unfortunately for Purdue as a whole, that round's going to end up a loss. So now Akron in a 2-1 lead. We're heading back to Aviator in Games Room, and Purdue can try and figure out what's going to work once again. Can they replicate the same level of success they've already previously had? Will Akron just say, hey, we can change things up and make it an even more lopsided affair? We saw that just the last round. When we went into round 2, we had seen Akron win, but it came down to a close situation. That one, not really, came down to a 3v1 at a point in time, and it ended off in, I believe, a 2v1 after Mila had gotten the kill. So quite frankly, Akron is adapting in a little bit more of an aggressive manner and has been able to completely change the pacing and score line of each round. Every time they're finding success, they're finding more success each time around. If we had seen Purdue continuously try that objective, I wouldn't be shocked in one round or maybe even 2 rounds to see Akron get yet another flawless victory.
I mean, the extension that's happening by Purdue, it's been great and all, but Akron has kind of just realized that, hey, there's not a lot of presence on the bomb site, so we'll commit maybe 1 or 2 players on that roam clear, but just leave the rest of our players to just take the bomb site. And I mean, it's worked now for Akron once and technically twice if you want to call it that, but they actually still went for that roam clear on round number 3, I believe it to be, or round number 2. I'm so sorry, but it's just... It's odd for Purdue still. They had a really strong start, and now they're kind of simmering down a little bit. They're put back towards that back burner that I normally try to reference again, but they could still bring things back. This is the one bomb site that they ended up winning, and after that, I think it'll beg the real question of if we're going to see Purdue try to attempt trophy for a 3rd time, or if they'll just go down to dining room, which I think is probably a much better option. But this site did give Akron a lot of issues. They were trying to go for that heavy roam clear in towards the back area of Master and also underneath, and that's where Purdue found multiple entries, and at the end of all the chaos, even more of it erupted in the face of Akron via a C4 by Mila, and then a kill coming out for a 3K by Mila, and it was just too much for Akron in that instance.
Yeah, you kind of can force a situation to go in your favor, and Purdue was able to do that by playing insanely offside and having that aggression like you were talking about, but right now they're facing off against Akron's aggression. Already a first pick comes through. It was actually JetCon who downs the player Providence, but it doesn't seem to matter because Smitty was able to frag back into JetCon because JetCon was not able to secure the kill, and instead Surma will instead finds the 2-double, finishing off the kill and also picking up the other. But a 4v3, Akron's aggression working out for them. They can get the refrag, they can get their positioning handled, and Surma takes little to no damage in the process, so a nearly full HP individual to actually help and assist. Mila's now forced to reinforce that wall next to Bar on the west side, trying to keep themselves in a stable, secure position as these surrogates as well are just able to slow down the attack of Akron, but ultimately still allows them to shoot through, which is just as dangerous when you're facing such potential fraggers that Akron has.
About a minute left on the clock here. Akron is in pretty decent shape to try to claim this round as their 3rd victory for this 3rd matchup, but there's still plenty of amazing players on the side of Purdue to try to stop them from doing so. Syria Gate gets destroyed, and Lagras picks up a nice shot on a Surma that even things up, but Hennessy is there to find the refrag on a Lagras. There goes your smoke player, and the bomb, or pardon, the diffuser is back in the hands of Akron. Only 40 seconds left now as well, and things are looking a little bit worse for wear now for Purdue. It's going to be much more difficult when not having those toxic waves try to deny the plant. One refrag comes out though by Mila. A kill will not come out by Hokow though. He gets denied. Now 1 versus 2, the plant being confirmed, and Mila is not able to even things up back into a 1v1. He now has to try to find 2 separate kills in multiple different directions, and all that Akron now has to do is just play keep away and hold down the deep angles and deny Mila of clutching out this round. Mila, though, still trying to win this one out. He'll go underneath trying to spot out Hennessy, but he's wasting so much of his own time. Even if he finds this kill on IQ, which he in fact does, it's not going to be a lot of time left for him to work, and IMAT is completely aware of that. He rotates all the way around, now just waiting in the back corner inside of Study. Wide swing comes out by Mila, being brought down to a quarter of HP, whips out the pistol, but can't win it out. Akron win the round for the 4th one, and my goodness, Scott, they are just back up and alive. They may have not won the first round on Villa, but they'll win the 3 followed up after it.
A smile placed not only on my face, but on the wall as well. A very valid attempt we saw that came through from Purdue, from Mila to try and win that one out. The not giving up at any stage, the rushing all the way back around through that staircase and coming up to maybe come in and fight through Study. It was a narrow loss. I don't think time would have allowed it anyways, just taking too much time to go for it. But look at the way that Akron played that. Let's digest their post-plant situation play. Instead of just sitting there and holding that pocket behind a vault door, you see that assisting players fires through Study doorway, forcing the player Mila to turn the other direction and also to run forward and actually go through vault instead, which gives them the safety net of being able to step away and just completely run all the way down to piano. And because you have to have that player run through vault, and because they have to walk behind that reinforced wall, it cuts sight lines. And that gives Akron the entire bit of space that they needed. And it wasn't just a little bit of space. It was half the dang map of space to work for. And they punished Purdue accordingly. Time just not on their side. A 2v1 post plant. I think one of the last post plants we've seen where a post plant truly really mattered was the post plant on last map where Purdue got the plant and won the round in that 1v1. Akron's just replicating that, but showing we can do it in a 2v1 as well and force you to run ring around the rosy for half of that time.
Time was a key factor in that post-plant situation, yet again, similar towards Consulate, except it just favored a different team is all. And I'm a bit concerned, Scott, for Purdue right now. They're doing what I was hoping they wouldn't do. They're going back to trophy, and this has not been a favoring bomb site for them. The tides have not really tipped in their favor when going this top floor objective, and they're doing the exact same stuff. So Akron can get a almost, if not a completely perfect read into the situation because they've dealt with this twice before and have won it both times. They could make it a 3rd win, bring us 4-1, and then pretty much just force Purdue to go into dining room and kitchen. And it might not even matter if Purdue wins that 6th round, Scott, because it's already been 4 attacking rounds for Akron. And that's even if they win this round as well. Akron could still bring it as a 3-3 split, and they would still be in a amazing position up against Purdue, especially up against such a defender favored matchup. And right now, we're seeing the exact same thing happen by Akron as well, but this time they're showing even more aggression as Matt finds that entry on Amila, such an important player throughout this 3rd map on Villa, but now he's not going to have any influence whatsoever except for cam calls.
This does not bode well. Akron starting off exceedingly strong. They do take a bit of damage against Matt, but ultimately they'll be able to get the kill, and also now they've returned some damage off into Providence. In fact, Providence at lower HP than Matt is instead, and Laggers has a shot capability, but fires too late and has to step out to get the shot, not knowing a second player is there, and JetCon is able to turn on the Jets, find the kill. Now Arv's able to find the kill into Hokow. Hokow with 0 kills in this map so far. Smitty able to take a refrag back to Matt, but ultimately Akron is a 4-2 lead, a very substantial position as they're just playing their own game. Nitro Cell tossed, both of them now detonated, none left in terms of utility. Providence on the flank coming up. Astronomy gets shot downed, is downed but not out. A frag does come through as Arv is able to assist unable to get and finish off the kill. It'll be Smitty who's able to assist, but at this point in time, all you can do is finish the one kill, hope for the revive, and try to play this post-plant scenario, but things do not bode well. A rush around the corner, JetCon finds one, refragged back by Smitty. Smitty doing a good job of playing in and assisting the teammate to at least get a crossfire at the end of it, but it's not going to matter. 19 seconds left in the post-plant. Flash is being tossed out, cannot find the kill. Retina's lost, and the health pool lost as Surma takes Smitty for a ride.
And Akron, like I said, they knew what they were getting themselves into, and they've just been improving on this trophy attack time and time again. They gave Purdue zero hope. It came down to a ace clutch post plant coming up by the Mozzie. It wasn't possible. No matter how well Smitty's been doing this entire game or series, I should say, you can't win those. It's almost impossible. We saw that on Coastline. A 1v5 post plant had to be won, but that wasn't even close. At least Guzmany gave a valiant effort and found a couple of kills back to back, but still was not enough. And we're going to trophy again. I think it's what you were whispering to me earlier, Scott. I was just kind of in my own little element, so I'm sorry for blocking you out like that.
No, I said he's been doing exceptionally well. I was agreeing with you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, like I said, literally just mind in a whole nother dimension talking about that round, and we might just have history repeat itself again, Scott. We're going to trophy for another time.
I really like trophy.
I
do. What's your favorite objective for this map? I'd like to question
the bottom
you.
one.
I don't
kitchen.
ask this one.
I like that one a lot.
Dining in kitchen. You agree with me then that you like dining in kitchen?
Not for the same reason. I just feel like that's probably a bomb site where you can have a really great extension, but also there's just so many different ways to dissect that map or part in that bomb site. There's plenty of ways to dissect the other objective rooms on this map of Villa, which is probably what I was trying to say in my mind, but my words were just too fast for my brain to think about. But it's just something about that bomb site that I really like.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I like it, the older style, very reminiscent of Season 1 maps, Season 2 maps, pre-rework maps, I guess I should say. But honestly, by all accounts, Akron looked great on the attack. Purdue haven't found answers. They're going to be heading back to that trophy room, and this is where I think we're going to see Akron just do it once again, completely return it around, find something else. I think we actually saw Wamai last time, I believe, from Purdue when it came to defending this, and now they don't have that. Instead, choosing to slightly switch it up, but nonetheless, we are seeing substantial hold once again on the south side. They're looking to contest, maybe hold this pillar of Classical Hall 90, have Lagger sit behind bar of Games Room and catch a player off guard. But if we see once again Akron just double step that out with Matt and of course JetCon pushing through, then it's going to be difficult for Laggers with a Vector with a low ammo count in it to swing and find both kills. And I think even if he does get one, Akron will just refrag it back out and ultimately win that engagement.
And we've been seeing the exact same stuff by Akron as well to a certain degree. I think something, I don't know, like a pulse perhaps could really favor Purdue here. We've been seeing Akron just push their way into both study and also 90. The flooring is just self-destructible, and the amount of intel you can gather with that cardiac sensor can be great for your team, but luckily it's not going to take cardiac sensor. It's going to take the P10 Roni for an entry to come out favoring Purdue, and another kill comes out as well. Mila finding a 2K, and JetCon being injured as well from the top of main stairwell. Laggers tries to push up to confirm that kill, and Surma is there to wrap them up. We'll keep things now in that 3-on-4, still favoring Purdue, which they've been able to have a great start, but this could be the turning point again for Akron as they're slowly removing this roam presence. Now we're seeing that backpedal come into effect for Purdue, but in the exact same time, there also isn't a lot of time left for Akron to really make this work out unless they can even things up basically in these next couple of seconds before we get to that final minute.
Yeah, and this 90 hold right here is going to be pretty impactful, and it'll actually be won by Surma, who's able to just peek it a little bit faster than Smitty's was available to comprehend. The brain just couldn't keep up with the swing that came through, and that's very reminiscent of Akron to do so. And the aggressive swings that they do not back down in the face of opposition, but JetCon is looking very worse for wear, has already been downed, not boding well for them, and not looking hot in the HP pool, but with only 45 seconds left, it's not like it'll really matter. Arv is able to turn around and find Providence. Now it's just Hokow, who is sitting inside of Trophy, and Mila, who's down below in main hallway towards this main central stairs. They can contest, and this Roni has found its level of massive success, but They're aware of it to a degree, but it's not going to be enough. JetCon, who was already low, is going to be finished off once again. A swing does come through from Arv from Master Bedroom, does find Hokau, who is sitting inside Trophy, and now Mila's left to contest. Stepping in through Astronomy, has the knowledge from the teammates that Diffuser does go down, swings and has some shots on the opposing player, but as of this current moment, they're able to take a step back. A one-on-one in sight. Surma is able to step around a player down to Mila, who's able to take Surma in for the down but not out stage. Now rushed from behind with the Roni, tries for the kill, but Arv instead finds it, and the player of round 6 is Arv by a landslide, saving a round that Akron had no right to win, and yet still coming out with the W.
Oh my goodness, so close but yet so far away. He found all the kills leading up to the 1v1, but Arv just wins those. Oh my goodness gracious. A 5-1 split for Akron yet again. It just hasn't been working for Purdue. Every time they've gone Trophy, they've lost. We only saw Trophy and Aviator, and oh my goodness, just every single time, disaster after disaster after disaster has struck Purdue's round differential against Akron, and now they're on the attacking side. This is everything that wasn't supposed to happen for Purdue, and it's really got to sting now all the way in map 3. We've seen no redemption arc for them yet, and it needs to come out. I'm still hanging on the cliff right now, hoping something good occurs for Purdue, but right now it really hasn't been anything but just upset for them.
It's so hard to say. When you look at the score line, if we can pull that up once again, just take a look at what we're seeing and digesting. I mean, you can also see in the sides. I guess that's another good point. It's just easier to see in the middle.
It's now 19-3 for round differential.
Yeah,
overall.
19-3 overall round differential, but also add up here. Mila has 9 kills and Smitty has 8. And you take a look over for the Akron side, it's Arv who has 9 and it's Surma who has 7. So, in all, the top fraggers for Purdue are doing better than Akron. They're playing better than Akron. They're playing in positions that can work. It's just Akron has every single person firing on all cylinders. Only Hennessy's really lagging behind, and Hennessy was phenomenal utility through and through, was able to figure out what they needed to do, was able to figure out what was going to work, and was able to act off of it. It just came down to not winning all of the engagements in the way that they were necessarily anticipated to do so. When Hennessy played IQ, that's technological utility and technological I guess know-withal, so that they can find some of that utility that Purdue was bringing to the table on the defense and counteract it. But ultimately, Purdue, with the fact that Hokau has done a good job of sitting on side and lasting towards the end, just hasn't been able to find picks. And honestly, it's been 1 or 2 players left alive at the end, so Hennessy's 1 kill may have been impactful, and Hokau didn't get a kill to show that it was impactful.
It's just, again, a series of unfortunate events for Purdue, and yeah, their top fraggers have been able to show up, but like you said, players like Hokau just simply have not unvillaged just yet. There's still a couple of rounds left, at the very least 2, where we could see that possibly happen, but if they do show up, then it might not go to another 7-1 victory just yet. Akron, though, they've been able to stall for the first minute on the board, Purdue taking a very slow and methodical approach, and I don't blame them. They have to make sure all of their movement is done perfectly to a T, because if they lose the entry, for example, then that could just be a round loss right there. There's no recovery. So I, again, do not blame them whatsoever. They are really worrying about all of their play styles that are occurring right here and right now, and now they're trying to go in for the push towards the player up on the top of red stairwell, finally that Vulcan shield being destroyed, but they still haven't cleared out that player just yet, and they only have 1:20 to work with, and still no entry has come out up until now. Providence finally finding some sort of success, but they still have to clear out the player inside of 90 hallway, which is currently Arv, who has not moved. He's just sitting there like a slug.
Yeah, and when you're just sitting like a slug, typically someone's going to come up and pour some salt on the wound, right? I mean, really and truly, it's all it takes, and that's a pretty big salt right there. That is a pokeball to the face of Providence. Server's able to clean up and actually get a kill with it. Unfortunately, Mila is on a tear, does find one more, but being felled right back by JetCon. It was a 3v4, now back to that 3v3, and JetCon is taking a lick of damage, not necessarily that much, still sitting pretty at around 68 to 70 HP. But this 3v3 still in favor of Akron. They can hold an anchor where they need to. Purdue need to get one substantial and impactful pick to be able to get into a position of dominance to plant down the diffuser. If they're not able to do that, then we will not see any objective play in this map. It would seem like we've seen the plants, but ultimately the rounds have been won off of getting kills, unlike map 2 where we did see plants go down and come down to the wire. But shots coming through, Smitty taking damage through the drone hole, somehow not dying. It's an IMAT will find laggers and some damage to go through. He'll step up and find 3 back to back, and IMAT takes Smitty and Hokow out for the count, and he's taken up into the match point. Akron are looking spectacular and looking to finish this one off very, very strong.
Anything Purdue can do, Akron can just do better, apparently. They've already brought us to match point again. 7-0 victory, so 6-0 match point, 6-1 match point again, and now 6-1 match point for a third time. Oh my goodness, Scott. Akron just wants to go home early, apparently, from what it appears to be on their round scores.
I think most of them are home.
I mean, they want to go like, all right, whatever. I guess you want to ruin my joke. Thanks,
No,
Scott.
I'm sorry. No, I mean, Akron has a.
They want to join the rank
facility.
stack after this.
Yeah.
That's what it must
So they
be.
just want to queue after this. Yeah, that's what it is. No, I would pick up
another day in
Milo
the
for the
office.
queue as well. Just bring out Mila and Smitty and be like, all right, well, Arv and Hennessy had to go to bed, so we'll just
Okay.
bring you guys in full 5 stack and competitive. It'll go
All
great.
right. All right.
Yeah, we'll just
Scott.
run with that.
Look,
Sorry, I'm trying to
I'll
make
call-
sure your
I'll
joke's not
call
entirely
you-
ruined.
I'll call you the casual warlord, but that's about it. I mean, you're a force to be reckoned with in those parts, but ranked, I don't think that's either one of our forte. There's a reason why we're the casters and not the players. I think I'll just have to say that. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why Akron, and I mean, there's a reason why their players are playing right now. They're just doing amazing. And even though Purdue hasn't been doing that good, there still have been some really good highlights for them in general. And some highlight players as well. I mean, Mila, for example, and Smitty, both going positive and really trying it their all. That one round win that Purdue did in fact have was a 3K off the back of Mila at the very end just to wrap it all up and seal that deal. So there has been some success for Purdue, but they needed more. That's the only issue.
They definitely needed more, and right now, Purdue, they need so much more than more. They need everything, because it is what have they won 3 rounds total in this entire match so far? I mean, it is not a good look as of this current moment, and Akron are just continuing to lay down the pedal, push the pedal to the metal, so to say, and Purdue just are kind of being caught slacking in the process. I mean, I don't say this nonchalantly, but Purdue is down bad right now. They are not finding what's working, and Akron has adapted, overcome, and just outplayed Purdue at almost every single turn. Despite all of Smitty's attempts and Mila's attempts in this map alone, Akron just seemingly cannot be stopped and are looking to finish this off at match point.
Scott, don't lie to chat. You say down bad all the time. It's absolutely hilarious. So I'm glad
I'd
you're
say
still
it
saying
here,
that.
okay? Don't call me out, like.
It's funny though. It's really funny. You need to do it more. I love the banter. There's a reason why we work well together. We got that chemistry. We just make funny jokes all the time. And chat's like, funny castor. But at least something good happens for Purdue to go back into serious mode a little bit, because they will find that entry on Arv, who has also been doing incredibly well. We were talking about Goose Smitty and also Mila earlier on, but there's been plenty of amazing star players on the side of Akron as well, with Arv being one of them, and he'll get annihilated, but luckily JetCon returns the favor on a Providence. There goes your only set of fragmentation grenades, and Hennessy picks up one as well. That back burner now in the hands of Purdue once more, as Akron is just rearing their ugly head up against Purdue, and they want to end this off early. IMAT picks up one on a laggers as well. It's already a 4v2, Scott, and there's only a minute left on the clock, and Hokow's trapped inside a bathroom, and Mila is not that far behind him either. This could already be over in the blink of an eye.
This does not bode well whatsoever. Akron sitting very pretty. One in astronomy does sit up with the SMG-11, attempting to get some crossfire shots. I think it's the SMG-11. I think it is, in fact, Surma. They'll throw the Toxic Babe as well into this bathroom door, connecting as the flash grenades will now be topped off by Hokow. Hokow needs to find these picks, does start to swing. Surma does get the shot, and a miraculous shot as that's looking absolutely phenomenal. Now Diffuser down, they're hunting for their kill. Matt is felt in return as they got a little bit too greedy, and Mila was able to say, that's mine, not yours. And now Mila's looking to step up from the master bedroom door, and this south side stepping into statuary. Could be a dangerous position as one player in Trophy could deny, but instead it's a player behind the statue itself. They're not turning the right way, and a crossfire from two different directions will finish this one off in a spectacular show of just Akron. Purdue could not match it, and Akron will take it all the way in a 3-0 grand final victory.
21-3 round differential throughout that entire series. Oh my goodness, talk about devastation. Would have won this, but I didn't really know much about Purdue to begin with, so that was kind of my altogether go for. And I mean, I guess I voted correctly. They just had that from the beginning, I suppose. I can't really put it any other way, to be honest, Scott.
Well, they looked absolutely phenomenal, and it was a pleasure to be able to watch and actively be a part of the program once again. So thank you guys very much for watching. We'll jump you guys over to the desk. It's it for me, Infernosis, and my good friend here, Fellow. So stay tuned for the desk. They'll be able to show us and tell us exactly what went wrong and what just happened. So, Chief, take us away.
Say what? What did we just watch? A 21-3 best of 5. Gentlemen, I am lost for words. I am perplexed. We know that Akron is now a 12-time collegiate champion. Yes, that is 2 times collegiate champion. You guys predicted this. You guys were accurate with your pre-match predictions, but could you have seen this be so dominant, Jonah?
No, I did not expect it to be this one-sided, and forgive me for my lack of excitement, but 21-3. Come on, man. What? I mean, it's been a great a great season. We've seen some incredible matchups. Sucks to say that this was not one of them, but the circumstances, they are what they are. Purdue unable to show up here tonight. Akron taking probably the easiest victory they have had in a long time, tidying up their 12th collegiate title. And for Surma, what a way to go out on top. They looked great all season. They deserved the victory by all means.
And obviously, in a grand finals, somebody has to walk away in that runner-up spot. But not all hope is lost, Garrett, because let's take this opportunity to reflect on Purdue. Act as their coach for the day. What can you say in general aspects? Can they, help them along the ways to become that next dominant powerhouse? Because they're there. They're in the grand finals. They're just one round away from hitting that mark against Akron. But what do they need to improve on moving forward?
I still am very blessed to have the opportunity to have played against both of these teams on the collegiate side. We know that Akron is a powerhouse, as we have just been shown quite strongly. The 21-3. I'm just going to sum it up in 2 words. Time management. With all the rounds that Purdue lost, we saw a lot of spurts of great activity on the side of Purdue. On Coastline, they had opening picks very, very regularly. It was great. But oftentimes it boiled down to how they managed their time. And with balancing that time, it was a matter of how they managed their utility in terms of taking it down and breaking down those Akron defenses. So I think that is what we can base that loss on. Strong teams both ways. Unfortunately, it was not the slugfest I had hoped. I still was holding out strong for the Purdue guys to make a rally and be the underdogs, but unfortunately, they weren't able to pull it out.
Now, gentlemen, I'm going to have to put you on the spot for a second. You need to nominate an MVP. Who was a standout performer? It doesn't have to be for the Akron Zips, but somebody, one of our 10 players, who deserves all the love and recognition in the world. Jonah, you can start us off.
I'm going to go with the support player in the lobby, the support player who came out on top. I am going to throw it to Surma, not just because it is his last game, maybe a little bit, but I mean, he just played really well, right? And this is your old wise man on this roster who's been here for as long as Akron have been strong. He's brought his team through a lot, and tonight was another indicator. I don't know how hard Akron were sweating. I don't know what their comms were like. Honestly, somewhat confident they were just vibing and having a good time towards those last few rounds. And I hope that is how it ended up for them. What a way to send it off for Surma. He played really well. He had a couple of insanely clutch moments. And, well, as a support player, sometimes, especially on map 3, when all the confidence is in your team's hands, you don't have to be insanely gifted in the frag department. That's not your job. You're there to bolster your fraggers. You're there to bolster both IMAT and JetCon, who went insane on this last map. Surma earned it all the way. He's my MVP.
Garrett, are you going to double down on that, or are you going to pick somebody else that's new?
For sentimental reasons and the fact that it is his last match, I will agree in that aspect. However, I'm going to throw a curveball here and say it's a tie. I'm going to have to go between Surma. Again, like Jay-Z said, it was just he was locking it down. He's a spectacular player. What a way to go out as a 12-time champ. But I'm also going to put him up there with Goose Smitty. We saw strong play from him throughout this whole time, despite the ups and downs. So I'm going to have to give it as a tie between the two of them. Just spectacular play from both of these players. Well deserved for the MVP call for both.
I mean, I think you hit that perfectly. Purdue's primary entry, Goose Smitty, an absolute lights out player. And the same thing can be said for that first line of assault for the Zips. You have IMAT. You have JetCon. I mean, just look at the damage that they did mid-round, bringing them back from the brink of destruction, 1v3s, 1v2s. I mean, their mechanical skill is out of this world. Arv is in the same boat. He's an SMG 11, bro, and top fragged one of these games. But, my friends, I am very boring. I'm going to go with the same player as you did. Surma, because he is all of those things combined. He is also one of the faces of the Zips after 12 different championships. Not 12 championships that they played in, because they did play in them. They won it! I mean, he is that face of that industry. So, and then the whole team all together. So, it's just phenomenal to see. Now, what does the future hold for Akron, Jonah? Are they going to be bringing on new faces since their star player, the face of their org, is leaving for the real world?
Well, I don't know exactly who is going to be stepping up into that role, but I know whoever it is, they're going to be walking into a fantastic organization committed to just putting in the work and just becoming the greatest collegiate team out there. But, right now, Akron are coasting on this win streak. Nobody has really challenged them as of late. Yeah, there have been a couple. GCU, NC State, and Purdue have all had their fair share of victories against Akron this season alone. But right now, it is yet to be seen, as we saw here tonight. As long as people are fighting Akron, as long as people are trying to beat them, Akron are going to strive to improve, and that is what I hope to see going forward. I know they're going to continue to get better, but what I'm really waiting to see is which of these teams lurking on the bubble are going to step up to match them at their level.
Somebody is going to need to vault themselves up to that upper echelon. But analysts, it's been lovely talking to you. But I have some new friends to make. Surma, IMAT, they're going to come over from the Zips. They want to say hello. And more importantly, I want to say hello. So let's send it over to our victors. A 12-time collegiate champion. Surma, your face is here. IMAT, obviously he doesn't want to say hello to me. But gentlemen, welcome.
Hello. It
Hello.
was a good one.
I am beyond excited for you guys. First off, Surma, it's kind of a bittersweet interview. You are the face of the Zips. You're graduating. You're moving on to bigger things, but you are one of the sole reasons for this roster to be considered the best team that has ever touched Collegiate Rainbow Six Siege. So I gotta know, what emotions are you feeling right now? What's going through your head?
I mean, this has definitely been a really good year. I mean, I can't say I'm the big reason why we've won this. I definitely have some great teammates over the last years, especially with Matt being there from the very beginning along with me. But this year was insane. I mean, we won all seven tournaments this year. It turned out to be one of our best years ever. And I mean, this team is actually insane. So it definitely doesn't come down to me. It comes down to the whole team in general, just working really well together and just giving that motivation to really push to the end.
Now, with Summer departing, I'm at, what is the future for the Zips? What are you guys going to be doing? Who are you going to put in his shoes? Because those are monstrous shoes to fill.
We have some. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
people.
My bad.
We have two really good people lined up to fill both his and our spots. But it's just gonna be a lot of practicing during the summer. We're probably not gonna be as a team in the summer league, but I know I'm gonna be playing in it with my own team. With I know Jet and Zigalo are both gonna be playing with me, so that'll be a fun team to have.
Flanson, is he coming back?
I'm trying to get him, but getting him off Valorant's a hard thing.
That is very true. Now, Surma, I have to know, you guys had some different bans moving through. If we look at professional play, Nomad's getting a 55% ban rate, but you elected to bring out Zero as your primary bans. That's very common in Europe, but why did it enter here in our collegiate grand finals?
Primarily because I would have to say one of our worst things is looking for those zero cams. But at the same time, we know definitely Mila is a very good zero player, and I feel like fit our style again, so we didn't have to worry about looking for those zero cams. While at the same time, getting Mila off of probably one of his comfort picks on attack. Malusi, we see her banned every single round for us also, primarily because it's a comfort pick for a lot of teams that they can just go and put that down somewhere and not have to watch it. And so it allows us to show their holes and show where they really aren't holding properly, so we can definitely push in.
Now, I'm at, on like the micro scale, you guys are explosives. There were multiple rounds where you were 1v3 clutches, 1v2 clutches. How on earth are you guys capable of it? JetCon evolves into a fragging monster. You evolve into a fragging monster. Were those just based off information? Were those just knee-jerk reactions, mechanical skill, aim labs? What allows you to just bully players in the server?
I would say like the main three of us, me, Jet, and Arv, who like usually get like a lot of the frags. We three have like very high confidence, so we're not like scared walking into a site thinking that we're gonna die to somebody. We're taking the gunfights. We have information like 90% of the time, but we go confidently is the best way to say it.
Just giga brain fraggers. Surma, that was a micro question, so turning it over to you for the macro scale. As a whole, what leads you guys to be just the best team ever? 12 wins. I mean, enough to be said. What has been the journey for you guys, and what has led to those victories?
I mean, the real thing that it comes down to is just the consistency of us playing together. I mean, we're, of course, with us being varsity with Akron, we have mandatory practice schedules. So that really, at first, when me and Matt first started playing, it got us onto a very consistent practice schedule. And then I think at the same time, just us having the players that we have now and over the last years has just been absolute gunners. And it just allows us to not have to worry about just each person's individual performance, but more of the macro and the strats and us playing as a team together. I mean, that's definitely where it comes down to be, where I think we differ for a lot of teams, for sure.
Now, Surma, I do want to give you the main parting words. I'm going to turn over to Matt for 1 second. Let him say his piece. Shout out your university. Shout out your team right now, Matt. Give the love to people who needs love.
Big shout out to everyone who's watching from like past. I know I saw CJ in the chat. Big shout out to him. He's like the majority reason why we're good. He taught me how to play the game. I was like a plat 3 at the time, and when he was gone, I was a champ. So he really taught me how to play the game. Him and his XCL team.
Perfect. Surma, again, you've been the face of this roster. You're graduating. You're going on to bigger things. This is your last interview. Say everything you need to get off your chest. Again, shout out your university. Shout out everybody, and say goodbye to the thousands of fans that you've literally made.
I want to thank everyone for just being fans of Akron and watching us or supporting us where we can. I definitely big thanks to everyone on my team, especially Matt for being there since the very beginning. I know this is not an easy thing to do for 3 years in a row, especially with just being a very tiring thing to do sometimes. And I mean, it definitely helps out. And all the people that have been there since the beginning, definitely big thanks to them. Big shout out to my one of my best friends in the scene, Soup, for sure.
Perfect. My friends, it has been lovely to interview you. It's been lovely to have all these conversations over the past few years. Surma, best of luck in your future career. I'm Matt. This is not our last interview. There'll be more to come. You're still going to pave the way for the Zips, but my friends, it's always a pleasure. Take care and enjoy this 12th victory. Analysts, We have returned once again. I didn't forget about you. I always love you guys. What a series, to say the least. What a season. Incredible showing all around. Purdue has stolen the hearts of so many fans, but sadly, they couldn't steal the grand finals away. Garrett, any parting words for you? Any ways to send us out? I know you said some things beforehand. The floor is now yours.
Yeah, I mean, for Purdue, I would say that I know that that was not the outcome they were expecting. It was not the one that I was hoping for them. Strong on Akron, always a strong performance. They're great players. Their team has a bright future as always, and best of luck to them in the continuing seasons. Purdue, I think they have very little to hang their head on, simply improvement points. I think that when they address those, they're going to bounce back harder than ever. Overall, great games and great teams. So I'm just happy to be here. This has been a blast.
Happy to have you here.
Well, Chief, as always, joining you on the desk for a collegiate final. There's no better way to start off the weekend. And for Akron, I mean, it's just another day in collegiate, getting another championship under their belt. Massive props to them. They've looked amazing. It's been great to see this team develop and great to see how they really have just been rolling over people. And honestly, I'm really hopeful to see if other teams can step up. That's what we love about collegiate. We love this fierce competition. Sometimes the matches don't look the cleanest, but what we almost always guarantee is that they're going to be sweaty. They're going to be fun to watch. And honestly, I hope that's what we're going to see in the future. The whole season was great. What a way to end it. Unfortunately, not as close as we would have liked, but still on a high note. Akron taking the dub. Really couldn't imagine it any other way.
You know, Jonah, this season, it may be over for Premier, but there is still more collegiate Rainbow Six Siege. If you love this format, if you love good teams going at each other, well, my friends, we still have more games tomorrow. 3 PST Eastern or Pacific Standard Time. That is going to be 6 o'clock Eastern Time. On behalf of everyone in Collegiate, that's going to, oh, I lied, it's 7 o'clock. I don't know times. Times are difficult sometimes. But on behalf of everybody in Collegiate, that's Tango Mango Down, DJ, our secondary producer, and everybody who made this double production happen with that double observer, Henry, our casters, Scott, Fellow, and of course, you guys at Analyst Desk, Scott, Jay-Z. Oh, it's love to have you guys. But until next time, stay safe, stay well.
So fast, all tied up like a cat.